Yo, it's that Mob Talk Radio. You already know. Jeff Canarski in the house. Let's go. Lights dim, mic on, just voice in the air, telling tales of the mob. Like we were there, late night sessions. Secrets we uncover from the legend in the shadows to the unsung bro. Every broadcast a lesson, a glimpse of the cold. From the underworld stories that been told. Mob talk, get real, just bringing up the heat from the streets to the right. We ain't never miss a beat. Listen close, just know this game ain't fake and sweet. Mob talk, Jeff Canarski, we control the seat. Mob talk, get real, just bringing up the heat from the streets to the right. We ain't never miss a beat. Listen close, just know this game ain't fake and sweet. Mob talk, Jeff Canarski, we control the seat. Tune in every week. Jeff talking about the life deep inside. From the dawns to the trails, like secret they confide. Stories of the streets, no respect's a heavy price. This is Mob Talk Radio, they that you be advised. Echoes from the shadows, the truth they don't deny. Chefs here with the tails from the corners to the sky. Underworld whispers, angel stories day to life. Through the eyes of legends, you see the struggle and the strife. With his golden mic in hand, he paints the picture clear. The rise and fall of empires, the power and the fear. With the golden mic in hand, he paints the picture clear. The rise and fall of empires, the power and the fear. Mob talk, get real, just bringing up the heat from the streets to the right. We ain't never miss a beat. Listen close, just know this game ain't fake and sweet. Mob talk, Jeff Canarski, we control the seat. Mob talk, get real, just bring up the heat from the
I'm going to tell you something. If you two ever bother me again the rest of my life, I ain't giving up that shit. I can't. There's a good friends of mine out there say, well, he's divorced, you have to do it first. That's why I said to you before, you don't understand what the money is. The most of me is that the boss is your boss.
All right, and welcome to Mob Talk Radio. I'm your host, Jeff Canarski. William, Brooklyn. What's shaking, buddy? Do me a favor. If you are watching this show, this was a last-minute thing, and I'm going to explain why in a second. But if you can hear the words that are coming out of my mouth, can you put a 1 in the chat, please? Just so that I know you guys can hear me. And I'll wait till I see a 1 in the chat, and then I know you guys can at least hear what I'm saying. Frank, how you doing, buddy? This is going to be our last non-members only live. Starting next week, we are going to do 2 members lives a week with mob content, albeit history, and it will be members only. We are not going to do live shows anymore that are non-members only. So this is the last one. And I'm going to do this for like an hour or so tonight just to see what's going on. It's basically going to be pretty much open forum. Anthony, how you doing? Mickey Greggs, how you doing? It's basically going to be open forum tonight. We'll just talk about some organized crime stuff. But before I get to all of that, I just want to address one thing just very briefly because I think it's the funniest shit I've ever seen. First of all, this is going to be, because I don't like to get in the dirt, but I'm going to for about 3 or 4 minutes here. Number one, if you're a grown man and you have nothing better to do than stalk my community page and stalk everything that I do, and there's several of you, there's a couple of dozen of you that do this, I just kind of proved how stupid you guys are. Okay. Number one, I'm not going to beef with anybody. They don't have any talent. And that's the truth. If your whole entire existence is bent on digging up dirt on people and lying about people and calling people's mothers names and calling the cops, calling the feds, you're nothing but a fucking lowlife. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. Whether you like it or not, that's the truth. There is no talent in doing that. Defending yourself, absolutely you have a right to do. But when people say, oh, I never do stuff to people first, that's a goddamn lie. And that's just the truth. So for those that know and those that don't, on my community page, I had put a fake DNA test. I never said it was real. All I said was, here's mine, show yours. Never said this is actually real, because I knew that certain people can't help themselves and they were going to Google research the number, or excuse me, not the number, the photo. Do you guys think I'm that stupid? Like, I didn't think you couldn't take the photo and do a reverse Google search. Number one, whatever ethnicity I am is none of your fucking business. That's number one. Number two, I don't have to prove anything to anybody. If that's the case, prove to me you don't fuck men. Prove to me you don't fuck men, and prove to me you're not on drugs. So prove to me you don't fuck men, and prove to me that you're not on drugs. Take a live drug test. Are you going to do that? You won't. So that's my point. And the only reason why I did that, and a bunch of people knew, I said, I'm going to do this. Do I look fucking Portuguese to you people? Come on. I'm Italian and Irish and a little bit of English. Okay. And the fact that somebody had somebody on their show yesterday to come on and talk about that proves a point. And now I'm about to fucking embarrass you. It proves a point that you went to look up dirt on me, because that's all you can fucking do. And that's just my point. You got one guy saying I'm Jewish. First of all, Jewish is not an ethnicity. It's a religion. I'm Roman Catholic, Italian, Irish, English, and a couple other things. What I am, who I am, does not change the quality of my show. But you couldn't help yourself. You couldn't help yourself. So you had to go and look up the photo and research it, and then you do a whole show about it. How about you do a show where you don't talk shit about somebody? Do a show that has some talent. You can't. And this is the last I'm going to say about it. It just proves, once again, people that have nothing to do. These are grown men. They have nothing to do but research people. They have nothing better to do than look at people's photos and try to make them a liar. You guys have been doing this 10 years. I'm still here. When you're here 10 years, because I'm going to tell you something now, you're not going to be here another year. I'm going to guarantee that. That's my point. And if you got a fucking problem with it, I'm going to drop the fucking link right now. Because I'm not going to do this, dig up dirt on people's shit. I don't do that. That's what cowards and pussies do. That's what cowards and pussies do. You can't argue with me. Facts. It's always got to be, oh, let's dig dirt up on people. Oh, let's save text messages and show them to people. That's what cowards do. That's not what grown men fucking do. I'm a grown man. Here I am. There's the link. So and I love this name, Queen of Tardtube. There you go. Oh, well, okay. That's not nice. I didn't realize. So let me apologize. Let me apologize for what I just saw. I did not know that was somebody's wife. Please don't put somebody's wife on your thumbnail. Please don't do that. That's not cool. I don't like that. I'm going to have to kick you from the fucking, I'm going to have to ban you, because I'm not going to allow that on my show. I may have a problem with certain people, but you're not going to talk about their family or their wives or show photos of their wives. You are not going to do that here. We do not do that on this channel. If you're into that, go to another motherfucking channel and do that. We are not doing that here. But of course, that will probably be used against me now too. So thanks. But no, that's all I have to say about that. I don't want to discuss it any further than that. I'm not saying another thing, because all I'm going to do is get your channel taken down. That's what I'm going to do at this point. Call me a rat. I really don't give a shit. I've got enough to get your channel down now. I haven't done it. Leave me the fuck alone. Stop bringing on people to make up shit. Stop allowing people to lie and capitulate in your chat. Otherwise, I'm going to do it too. And I don't want to get into all of this. So like I said, I knew you wouldn't be able to help yourself, but this goes to prove to everybody that watches ShitTube that once again, I had some opinions on some things people didn't like. Okay, you return fire. Okay, we're good. But then you had to take it a step further, and you thought you were catching me lying, but really what it was me catfishing you into doing what I knew you would do. It's stupid. You look like a fucking moron doing things like that. Why? What is it about grown men who cannot stop stalking other men. If you got a successful show, what the fuck are you over here for? Stop your nonsense. Grow the fuck up. Grow the fuck up. That's just all I have to say about that. That's the last I'm going to say about it. Make 100 videos. I don't care. I don't care. But it just shows everybody that when you say, oh, I don't go and do that, you do, because you just did. And you're a fool because you got caught doing it. Like, really? You didn't look at that and go, Portuguese, is he crazy? And you had to look it up anyway. It just goes to prove to me that you're a lowlife. That's how I see it. You're a lowlife, a cop calling lowlife. That's it. Go call the FBI now. Do whatever you got to do. Anyway, all of that being said, let me go through the chat really quick. William Brooklyn, how are you? I think I see you in Angels chat all the time. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Frank, what's shaking? Mickey, Anthony. Let's see. Gypsy Crusader. Yeah, Pinocchio. Right. You're out of the chat. See you, pal. Go to a MobTube channel where all they do is say horrible, despicable things about women and dead children. Go ahead, because that's all these people do. With the exception of a few actually have the standards not to do something like that. Yeah. I think Mario, he is probably at work. He is probably at work this evening. But like I said, you see, guys, I dropped the link. Nobody bothers to come in. They just want to sit on their channel and run their mouths. There's a whole bunch of them. And this isn't just like isolated. This is like 20 people. This is like 20 people that do this. They have no lives. Like, just like, I'm too busy to like really worry about it. And the only reason why I knew about this is because a couple of people told me earlier today, and I had a big laugh over it because I knew that this would happen. I knew it would happen. And listen, truth be told anyway, I do have a real version, but that's not for public consumption. And I don't need to prove anything. Like I said, you guys will go, oh, prove it. Well, prove you don't do drugs. Prove you don't like men. Are you going to do that? Nope. So really, what are we talking about? And your opinions and your stupid things that you say about me, they don't mean nothing. They don't mean nothing. You don't affect my pocketbook. You don't affect my bills. You don't affect me in any other way. I'm just bringing it up to show you that you do exactly what you always say you don't do. So there you go. You're the fool. You are the fool. So has anybody seen, there have been I haven't paid too much about this. I'm hoping somebody in the chat knows, maybe Sicilian Syndicate knows. Yeah, they do have to get lives. They really do. Has anybody seen the news about the Sam Giancana murder and people saying that Tony Accardo, former boss of the Chicago outfit, is allegedly now the shooter in that murder? I haven't watched any of the news stuff. People have been coming to me, telling me about it nonstop. I don't particularly know the validity of that. I have a hard time believing that just based on history, but has anybody in the chat heard that at all? Also, if you guys would not mind donating, that would be fantastic, because that's the other thing you say, he doesn't make any money. Well, okay. The PayPal, Cash App, all of that is down on the bottom if you guys want to donate. If you don't want to donate, that's fine too. Okay, so this is a good question. Jamie, how you doing, buddy? Been a long time. So from what I understand, Sicilian, I'll get right. I see your comment, Sicilian. I'll get right to you in a second. Okay, Penn State, can you come on and share what you saw in about 5 minutes if you're at home? If you're not at home, then I can wait. So from what I understand, and I only know this because I heard this from somebody who told me they saw Dominic Sicali talking about it. I can just, all I can say is this, is that I do go to a Bonanno club. It's public knowledge. I haven't heard anything about it. So if there's not a lot of talk about it, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I'm not saying it did. But typically when things like that happen, it's either really noisy or really quiet. But apparently the rumor is somebody went into a club and robbed it for like 100+K or whatever. This is the first I'm hearing about it, other than like a day ago. A boss would never do any of the dirty work, especially high profile hit. And okay, so this was the point. This was sort of the point that I made, is that first of all, here's the facts that we know. Butch was it Butch Blasty or whatever, was actually seen by the FBI entering Sam Giancana's house that day. And this is why they always thought that he did it, even though he was technically an informant for like a dozen years. That's my thing. If Sam Giancana had to be at I don't know what, it wasn't Hoffa because that was like way before, but whatever Senate hearing that he was supposed to testify at was the following day. And there were a lot of reasons why they were upset with him. The last thing you're going to see, and it's just my opinion, and I could be very wrong. The last thing you're going to see a sitting boss do, or an alleged sitting boss do, is pull up near a guy's house or even behind the house when they know it's under surveillance and blow a guy's head off in the basement. I just don't believe it. I don't know exactly what proof they have. I go through, forget about how much I spend on FBI files reading them. I've never come across that in my life. So suddenly, 40 some years later, this is like now coming to light. Where did these files come from? You know what I mean? I heard some new stuff about the Gemini twins. That's interesting. Bogley said he did it. So here's what's funny. And I don't know if you're talking about the Giancana stuff, but the reality is that just because a guy says he did it doesn't mean he did it himself. And don't you think, okay, so this might help. Frank Calabrese Jr. has claimed that, but I never believed it. So, Anthony, I'm right there with you. I don't believe it either because I don't think a sitting boss is going to take that chance. And what I said on the podcast, and I think I even said this on another live, is that when you get to a certain position in the streets, you don't have to do that kind of stuff. You push a button, it gets done. I have my belief on who did it, but like I said, I wasn't there. None of us were there. So we won't ever know the truth. But it's odd to me that Scott Bernstein is backing this up now, considering that he said that Gunnar Lindblom was in the mafia for a decade and lied about that. So if you're going to lie about that, and then you're going to double down 5 years ago and say, you know where Jimmy Hoffa's body is, and you were wrong about that. And I believe the same guy out of Chicago that said they knew where Jimmy Hoffa was is the same guy that's doing this now. So I don't know. I don't know what the truth is, but I have a very hard time believing that Tony Accardo would have anything to do with that. Ordering it? Probably so. 100%. But doing it himself? Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, I wasn't sure if your club got hit. No, it was no, not at all. No. I'm not going to say where mine is, but the area this took place was not in the same area at all. And in my club, believe it or not, 2 years ago, the feds kicked in the doors there and it was all over the news and just some other stuff and just crazy nonsense. But no, it definitely wasn't the club I go to. Is it true Accardo never been arrested? I don't think so. I mean, he might have been arrested. I don't have his criminal record in front of me. So, and listen, I don't, Chris, I don't contain that much knowledge stored up in my brain. I mean, I'm sure he was arrested at some point for something, but I don't think, whatever. Nadu is saying Gambino Club. Now, see, that to me would make more sense. Listen, you guys know me. I am the last motherfucker to ever back up anything that guy says. That would make more sense to me than Bonanno, only because of where I frequent and who I know, and they're all laughing about it. So that's how I kind of knew that wasn't exactly true. That may be the case. I don't know if it is. Jeff Nadu has a tendency of not knowing what the fuck he's talking about, but he could be right on this one. You never know. Everybody gets right at least once. Maybe I can believe a capo pulling the trigger, not a boss. 100%. 100%. I've always thought that it was Tony Spilatro. That's what I've always thought. It would have made more sense. I think that maybe Sam, first of all, a sitting boss coming to see a front boss right before a Senate committee hearing. Okay, so on that standpoint, it would make kind of sense to me because that's how you could trick him. Well, boss ain't going to come here and do nothing. But I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. Sakali said a current made Bonanno guy also told him Bonanno robbery was total bullshit. I don't know. I just know the people that I know and that I'm close with, and they were all laughing about it. So, and the reason why I didn't come blazing out with that was mainly because, number one, I just don't talk about current shit. That's not my thing, but I had a feeling that wasn't necessarily the case. But I think Gene Borello started that rumor. Go figure. Myra probably wouldn't let anybody do it but himself. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Michael Francis joined the Hoffa train and claims he knows where he is too. Whatever. Yeah, no. I listen here, Stacy, and I'm so glad you said this, and this is very important. I'm going to read what Stacy said, and I want everybody to pay attention. Michael Francis joined the Hoffa train and claims he knows where he is too. Well, Michael Francis was a government cooperator. Why wouldn't he have told them that? Wouldn't that surely have gotten him out of prison immediately and gotten his father out of prison if he offered that information? 100% it would have. So that's why. Here we go, Mr. Gorky. Nothing. Sorry, I don't know if you caught me at the very beginning, but the fake DNA test that I put out, boy, they really went crazy over that.
Why? Jesus Christ. It's a fucking DNA test. It's 99% accurate, like.
Well, no, what I did was I have the real one, but I put a fake one up because I knew what they would do was go and Google search engine the photo, and of course the jolly idiot from York, PA brought on common dunce, and they started tearing me apart, saying, "Oh, look, he got it from Reddit. He's lying." No, you just fell for exactly what I wanted you to fall for, as if I look Portuguese. You know what I mean? It just goes to show, bro, that they have no life and have nothing better to do. That's all it is. You know what I mean? For the guy that always says, "Oh, I don't dig up dirt on people for no reason," that's what he does. Grown men with nothing better.
25th different nationality that's been thrown out there about you, I think, the Portuguese now.
My favorite one was when I posted one 6 months ago that said I was 98% Nigerian.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, they don't search that one, and I only do it to fuck with them because I know that that's all they're capable of doing to me. All right, so you watch the news report. Tell me your thoughts on the news report.
So, it was interesting. This NBC5 guy, and you can watch it on YouTube. It's not that long. There's two different clips. One's like 12 minutes. The other one's like 20 minutes. This NBC5 guy, reopened it, supposedly talked to some FBI investigators that shared some more files with them. And I guess the FBI has this thing where they close their own cases, and they have 30-some cases. But, closing a case doesn't mean, I think that's the term they use, close, doesn't mean that there's enough proof that they could take it to court, but in their eyes, they have enough evidence on there that they suspect this is the guy, and they think it was Tony Accardo. So I know you don't believe the rats, and somebody mentioned Calabrese, but it was two Calabreses, the kid and then a Nick Calabrese, so I guess it was the guy's uncle, that both came forward and said that it was Tony Accardo that did it. And any name they said that from this guy talking to the FBI, the only name they said that they ever came up was Accardo. So what I found interesting was Butch Blassie was there, and I think maybe Giancana's daughter or something, Blassie, maybe another person, because I guess he just came back from Mexico or whatever.
Right.
And I guess they're there from 10 to 11, and the FBI was there from 10 to 11. Once Butch Blassie left, though, supposedly FBI surveillance left with Blassie saying, that's the end of surveillance. And the guy that did the investigation said that they have a log of Tony Accardo leaving his house sometime after 11 o'clock and not returning until an hour later, an hour and a half later. And right in between, because Accardo didn't live far from Giancana, and in between where they left, they found a gun that matched the ballistics to the gun that killed Giancana. So I wouldn't say for sure it wasn't definitely not true, but my question is if they got a log of Tony Accardo leaving his house at whatever, I forget what time, say 11:30, returning at 15, wouldn't they have a log of where he went to? Wouldn't they have followed him?
Yeah, if you've got a log of him leaving the house, obviously surveillance is going to pick him up. And two, here's the more interesting thing is, why wasn't he questioned after that murder then?
They said that they looked for him. They went to his house, FBI, and his wife just saying he wasn't home. They couldn't find him for a long time, and I guess that was it. And then they just had the Senate hearings. But you should It's not like it's only 20 minutes. Explains it better. I'm probably not saying it exactly word for word how he said it, but there were some things that pointed to where it could have been a Cardo, like maybe Butch Blassie leaving. Maybe a Cardo knew with Blassie leaving 11 o'clock that would pull the FBI surveillance off him. And I don't know. Supposedly, they mentioned something about Spilatro hated Giancana, and supposedly Giancana might have been messing around with Spilatro's wife or one of the others, something like that. But and I never could have happened. Put it on. Who, just no nonsense would fucking kill you in a heartbeat. I kind of look at him like a Jimmy Burke, that like I could see a guy like him work on his own. He might have said, "Fuck it, the guy's right down the road for me." Who knows? I just I heard on it.
You're how far are you from your crib?
I try to.
You're breaking up like really bad.
All right. Well, I could get off if you're still on. A half hour from now, I could hop back on.
All right. Yeah, I'll be here.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Well, we got part of that conversation anyway. So here's my 2 cents on that. So Mario says the feds are watching Accardo. They said he left at 11 and came back around 12. Here's my thing. So Butch Blassie was an informant for over a decade. And I would have thought that realistically, he would have given that information up because he was a suspect, right? And if you're an informant, you're also a suspect. Wouldn't you kind of point the finger the other way? So I don't know. It's an interesting narrative. I just don't know if I believe it. But let's play for a second that maybe Accardo did do that. That's some pretty tough shit. That's a boss taking matters into his own hands. I just don't know. They said Accardo was on the St. Valentine's Day massacre too. I watched the news as well. It can make sense. Well, given the parameters, depending on. So here's my thing. Surveillance reports, you can take with a grain of salt sometimes. You know what I mean? Sometimes surveillance reports can be very accurate. Sometimes they're not. And there's a difference between a 302 and a surveillance report. You know what I mean? So let's see. Who else would Accardo trust other than himself to make sure it gets done and no one talks? That's a good point. I mean, I'm not going to argue that point. I've always thought Tony Spilatro did it. He's the one that clipped Mad Sam DiStefano. I always thought he's the one that did it. He was in town at the time, which is a little odd considering what we know about him. But would it shock me that Accardo did it? Yeah, it would. I got to admit, that would completely and utterly shock me. And listen, I don't know. I wasn't there. None of us were. But I'm more curious as to how to say whether or not the surveillance reports and the intel they got corroborate something a little more substantial. Skeet says Charlie Allen, who worked for Frank Sheeran, the 107 Teamsters 326 in Delaware, was Hoffa's bodyguard in Lewisburg prison, took a knife for Hoffa. Also, Allen was released after Hoffa testified in front of Senate. Okie dokie. Well, Frank Sheeran is a lot of things. And that was, I remember when I heard Just Paint Houses, the book came out, there was a lot of debate on Frank Sheeran. I think Frank Sheeran told the truth about a lot of stuff. But I also think Frank Sheeran put himself in things he wasn't involved in. I happen to believe his narrative on what happened to Hoffa. And the reason why now, do I think Sheeran was in the house when it happened? No. Do I think Sheeran drove him somewhere where it happened? Absolutely. And the reason why I believe that is because Sheeran was the only guy Hoffa ever would have trusted because he had problems with Tony Provenzano, Detroit, God knows everybody else. But that's where sort of Frank Sheeran's story kind of gets a little wonky because Frank Sheeran used to hang out in South Philly all the time. And a lot of guys down there knew him and they used to tell me stories saying he was the biggest bullshitter they ever met. But, listen, I wasn't there. None of us were there. So there's no telling. When it comes to the whole Accardo thing, it to me, if you're going to lay that at the feet of somebody, you got to have something a little bit more substantial than just, oh, he left the house for an hour. Maybe he had a Gumata or something. You know what I mean? You got to have something a little more substantial than that. But that's not to say that it's not true or not accurate. But who knows? Sorry, guys. All right. Let's see. The Shovel. Now that's a good name. The old timers I knew in the 90s told me it was Blassie, whom I never heard of. He had just passed away. And that was the talk in the street at the time. So the Shovel, you would be right, because that's what I always heard too. We did a whole entire rat file on Butch Blassie, and we covered everything he ever talked about, everything he ever told them. And he provided a lot of information. And the FBI always thought that he was the guy that pulled that trigger. I always kind of thought it wasn't him. And the reason why I didn't think it was him, because he was an informant at the time. To me, that just, that's a tough one. That's a tough one, but I would be a lot more willing to believe that Blassie did it than Accardo. I got to be honest with you. But let's admit, if Accardo did get in the car and say, fuck this, I'm going to go handle this problem, you got to admit that's some pretty tough shit. You know what I mean? But I don't think we're ever going to know. Just like we're never going to know where Jimmy Hoffa was buried. How many times have let me ask the chat, do you guys think Jimmy Hoffa was put into a funeral home and incinerated? I'll probably get struck for even talking about this, but I don't think you're ever, because if you guys remember, Scott Bernstein, they knew where his body was. It's in an oil drum in New Jersey, and they weren't right. They were wrong about that too. So to me, listen, I've seen crazier shit, that's for sure. I have no idea. I have no idea who Gypsy Crusader is. I have no idea who Captain Dingaling is over here. All right. Sorry, let me go up here. Alan Hoffa was chopped up and shipped to Florida and dumped in Everglades, told by Provenzano. Did work for Buffalino, Warwire, and all of them, including Angelo Bruno, Ralph Natalia, and Frank Vadino. Wow. Interesting. So I don't know. It's a tough call. You know what it is for me? Here's what it is. I just have a hard time believing a boss at that age with that much power is going to do it himself. I mean, I don't know. It's very, very strange. Sicilian Syndicate says he was incinerated. That's what I thought too. That's the one thing that I thought that Frank Sheeran told the truth about. I think Jimmy Hoffa pulled up. I think he went into a house, and I think he was killed immediately. I definitely think that's what happened, and I definitely think he was incinerated. That's the only way. Truthfully, that is the only way you can ensure that nobody's going to say anything. They could say it, but you can't prove it at that point, right? But if a guy comes along and decides to dime out everybody else and run to the feds and say, oh, well, he's buried over in this third hill on the left-hand side of these woods. You know what I mean? So that I've always thought that. I've always thought that. Would Carlo Gambino have killed someone himself in the 70s? You know what? I doubt it. Carlo had a lot of people killed. In fact, Carlo had a Gumata on the side, and the Gumata's husband found out, and he had the guy killed. That's the first one. There was another one where, and this is sick, guys, and this is the God's honest truth. I'll provide the paperwork. His niece was running around with a bunch of different guys in Brooklyn. She was like having an affair with like several different people, and Carlo had her killed. He had her ripped off the streets in Brooklyn, drove her upstate, and had her strangled to death and then chopped up. Those are facts. But he was never charged with it because they couldn't get anybody to be willing to go to court. But there's a ton of FBI files on that. That's insane. And that, to me, that's just like, that was eye-opening. Like, that's some Adriano La Cerva shit. You know what I mean? Makes sense. He was incinerated. Dan Moldina been making money from Hoffa deaths in 75. He had them dig up a chunk. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're never going to find him. That's the one guy you can't have found, but somebody once told me, there was an old timer. He said, if you think, Albert Anastasia was a maniac, Carlo Gambino had twice the bodies Anastasia did. That's what they said. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But if you guys are curious and you guys haven't listened to like the Castellano shows we did on the podcast, you guys can go to www.mobtalkradio.supercast.com. We did a dive on Paul Castellano nobody's ever done. And there's things about Castellano I don't think people even know. So if you're interested, head over. It's $10 a month. We got a brand new show coming out tomorrow, a brand new podcast over there. It's going to be about 3.5 hours. Good stuff. We're going to be really deep diving into the Sopranos characters. Giancana was the only threat to have Accardo locked up. Rica asked him to step aside, and I don't think Accardo was happy and held a grudge. See, I would agree with you on that. This is one of the subjects when it comes to Chicago that I don't think people, I don't want to say understand because that's the wrong word. I don't think people know enough about Chicago to understand it, because really, in all reality, Sam Giancana was a front boss. It was really Accardo and Rica who truly carried the weight in that family, but they let, Giancana kind of do his thing until it became a problem. But Jason raises a great point here, because there was static at one point between Rica and Accardo. It wasn't very long, but there was some static, because unfortunately, Giancana, was Rica's boy. And what people don't realize, and I don't know if Jason, if you know, but Giancana was trying to get Tony Accardo arrested. Giancana was providing information to a dirty cop to give to the feds to have Accardo arrested, which we can really sort of jump into and think, oh fuck, was Rica playing, trying to get, Accardo locked up. But Giancana was providing information to a dirty cop to get Accardo arrested, to get him off the streets. So that's one of the reasons why he was killed. There were several reasons, but that was the main contributing factor, other than the fact that they thought he was going to talk. Gambino was more of a fox. Accardo used to beat people's heads in with the bat. That's what I love. Have you guys ever seen that Senate committee hearing where they're asking him, do they call you Tony Batters? And he's like, yes. Why? I don't know. So one day they just woke up and decided to call you Tony Batters. He's like, yup. Do you know what the mafia is? Nope. You ever been associated with the mafia? Nope. Do you know what Cosa Nostra means? Nope. Regardless, it would have had to have been sanctioned by Accardo. Correct. And I'm so glad you said that, Jason, because this is the argument I have with a lot of different people, because they try to tell me all the time, well, who could do that? Giancana was the real boss. No, it had to be sanctioned by Accardo. And it wasn't just Accardo that wanted him dead. Santos Trafficante wanted him dead. There were not Tony Provenzano. I was getting lost on the Hoffa shit. Trafficante wanted him dead. There were a lot of people that wanted him dead. And that begs to sort of ask the question, is that did Accardo have enough power on his own to just do what he wanted? Or did that, because Giancana was such a, I want to say, hot target, could of either Gambino or any of these other guys sort of stepped in and said, no, don't do that. The heat's on, the pressure's too much, because Chicago in many ways was beholden to New York, like a lot of other people were. New York had the final say in pretty much anything that happened anywhere, at least at a certain time period. I think honestly, Chicago really in the heyday in the mid 50s to late 60s, when they controlled the Democratic machine, especially in Cicero. I think that they could have done whatever they wanted at that point, but it always flows back east for some reason. I love that guy in Canada that talked about face cream during this discussion about a hit. Some of these things, some of these Senate hearings, like the Frank Costello one, is the best. I pay my tax, and that's the thing, is these guys didn't have to go to that. And this is what's interesting, is that they had told Giancana they did not want him to go to that Senate committee hearing. In fact, it was sort of the same issue they had with Joe Bonanno going back to the 60s, is that they told Joe Bonanno, do not go to any of these commission meetings. And he did it anyway. and it infuriated them. So I don't know if there was a rule at some point where the mob decided, okay, well, we can let this go. We're going to allow guys to go and say what they got to say. And it's really an interesting perspective on the dynamics of sort of the etymology of the mob, because back in the old days, you couldn't do that. Then there was like this period of like 15 years where they could. And then once the 1980s hits and you got John Gotti, forget it. No way. So it's interesting the parallels of how that sort of lifestyle sort of in certain decades changes a little bit. It's interesting. Jason says he had to wait till Paul Ricca died before he could hit him. That I would agree with too. I was fascinated when you once heard Buffalino was behind Giancana going. He had a part of that as well. There was a lot of things. Did you hear my Buffalino thing the other night when he got arrested for setting up a guy to get murdered over a jewelry heist? Crazy stuff. And that shows another, and Buffalino was in a league of his own. But you have to look at the time period we're talking about. You got to look at the politics and the structure of just the government attacking them. It really, Gambino, Buffalino, Trafficante, Accardo, just those five by themselves were just the power they wielded was insane. Just especially Buffalino, quiet. Didn't need to raise his voice, didn't need to lift a finger, could get done whatever he needed to get done. Skeets says, my favorite hit was Arnold Schuster by Albert Anastasia for ratting out that he saw Willie Sutton on a subway while Sutton was on the run from prison. He had both of Schuster's eyes shot, and he shot him in the balls too. He got shot in both eyes and the balls. Yes, that's crazy. We've talked about that on this show before. I think we did like a rundown of the 10 biggest mob hits, and that was the funniest one. How that guy thought. And for those that don't know, Willie Sutton was a big bank robber, and Italian guys loved him because when he was in prison and the Italian guys came, he made sure they got a job. They made sure they got clothes, whatever, commissary, whatever they needed. Then when he got out of prison, anybody that needed a job could come to him and he'd help them get work. That was the kind of guy he was. So this asshole Arnold Schuster is riding the fucking train, sees Willie Sutton, who's wanted, because Willie Sutton had escaped some serious lockdown prisons. Basically gets off, follows Willie Sutton, sees where Sutton's going, walks right over to the police station and rats him out. To make matters worse, it's one thing to go rat the guy out, but then he goes on national television to brag about his civic public duty that he did. And Anastasia, the legend has it, Anastasia sees this and says, kill that guy. So he didn't last very long. The golden age, damn right. Did anyone ever figure out what Gotti said to Riggy at the funeral parlor that made his face turn white? Okay, so it's interesting, Sicilian, that you say this to me, because I believe Dean, my buddy Dino, asked me this question. Was there some kind of beef with Gotti and Riggy? And I'm telling you, to my knowledge, there was none. Then there wouldn't need to be. John Riggy was a very well-respected guy, a very tough guy. That story specifically, I think a lot of stuff, this is what makes me laugh, right? And this is sort of the point I want to make. When people discuss John Gotti, you're often going to get a couple of different narratives, okay? Number one, he killed the boss. He was way out of line. He did exactly what everybody before him did. He did nothing different than anybody else. Then they want to say, John Gotti, this didn't have that kind of power. Well, you hear a story like this and you start to say, wait a second. Listen, here's the truth. John Gotti had a ton of power. Did he have Carlo Gambino power? No. I don't think anybody would say different. But as far as that story, I couldn't tell you. I've heard about that story, but I think a lot of these stories get inflated. One guy hears one thing, one guy hears another. It's sort of like when Gravano tells everybody, yeah, I went down to Philadelphia and met Philly and Eddie and Nicky Scarfo. Why would John have sent him of all people there? Just doesn't make sense. And so here's the barometer of how you sort of weigh whether something is even remotely possible. You just got to ask yourself, what are the odds that this would be the case? What's the odds that what the hell would Sammy Gravano need to go down to the Jersey Shore to sit with Nicky Scarfo for? You know what I mean? Do you think he ordered him to be shot in the nuts? No, I think he just took it upon himself. You know, not that there's an etiquette, Joseph, for whacking a guy, but to me, that's kind of funny. Shoot him in the balls. Why not? You know? Let's see. Tanks. I think Gorky is going to come back on when he gets back to his house. Yes. Thoughts on Big Mark? Is he legit? I have no idea who Big Mark is. Is Louis Casman? Is he legit? So, Angel, are you in the chat? I don't know if she's watching or not. All right. Louis Casman. He was not a gangster. Louis Casman was not a gangster. Louis Casman is a guy that, I'm trying to say this without sounding like a douchebag, but Louis Casman is the kind of guy that knew how to move money around for guys to make him wealthier, right? Louis Casman wasn't a gangster. I personally don't know Louis Casman. I think he tried a bunch of times to like email me and I just deleted him because I'm not talking to the guy. He's a bum. Because I happen to know some things about Louis Casman that he did in prison that he probably doesn't want out. Because I know guys that did time with him and he got punked out of the pod from day one. Guys wanted nothing to do with him. He was a bag carrier in prison. And listen, did he know John? Of course he did. I don't think anybody's going to deny that. But I also think he has taken liberties with a lot of things. And I think the mere fact that, he becomes an informant, he's going to tell on everybody, fine, I understand it. But the minute he started attacking the daughters, the relatives, like at that point, you kind of lose your argument and it sort of points more to you have something bitter you're hiding. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth. Louis Casman wasn't even a racketeer, really. He was a guy that knew how to make a little bit of money and that was the extent of it. And then he turned on everybody. Past all of that, I don't really know much about him other than just, what I've read throughout the years and stuff like that. But I don't think he tells the truth very much. I really don't. And that's just my opinion on him. I'm sure there are people that watch him talk if he's on YouTube. I think he is on YouTube, actually. I think I actually watched a clip of like a 5-minute clip and I just rolled my eyes. But I think the minute he started attacking Angel and saying disparaging things about the family, you really kind of lose your argument. It shows that you have some sort of bitterness. And that's what kills me about informants in general. Some of them, not all of them, because not all of them behave this way. Some informants, all they do is blame everybody else. And they get out of prison after murders and etc. And they're always blaming everyone else. And I don't understand that. You made a decision to become an informant. Nobody put a gun to your head. You made that decision. So why are you blaming everybody else? I think in the history of informants on YouTube, I think Dominic Sicali, hey, I'm a rat. This is what I did. This is why I did it. So be it. Okay. I listen, I don't like it, but I can respect that. Frank Ganji was the same way. Frank Ganji, I'm a rat. This is what I did. And it is what it is. I think Frank Fiorellino is another one. This is what I did. And that's the way it is. But for every one of those guys, it says, listen, this is what I did. This is why I did it. I don't give a fuck what you think. I can respect that. But for everyone that is kind of like open-ended like that, there's 30 others that just look at Gravano. Does he ever blame himself? Seriously, John God, he was going to tell on me, make me take the fall. How is that possible when you have John talking about, unfortunately, murders on a wiretap? Sammy knew he was going to be killed and he dimed people out. So when these informants are telling their stories, it's very seldom that they just come right out and say, you know what? Here's the truth. I led a horrible life. I didn't want to go do a day in jail. I got tired of the street bullshit. Bada bing, over with. Okay, I can respect. I don't like it, but I respect that. At least they're being straight about it. But then you have other ones that are like, yeah, it was all because of Ronnie G. Alonzo. It's all his fucking fault that I'm in jail. It's all his fucking fault. No, it's yours. It's yours, you dumbass. That's what I don't like. Just accept culpability and responsibility. That's it. He wore a wire on Vicky Gotti in the hospital. Yeah, I knew that. I just didn't. I don't really want to talk about Vicky or really Angel for that matter. When I don't even want to put Gotti and Casman in the same fucking sentence. I just really don't. And there were some things that Louis Casman said about John's funeral that I thought was repulsive. At that point, you just have to kind of look at him and say, okay, well, why are you saying this? Like, what does that have to do with, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't there, but I don't like the guy. I never really have. I certainly did not like the way he came at me in an email. Like, oh, you need to have me on. There's things about Angel you don't know. You know what? I've known Angel almost 10 years now. There's nothing anybody can tell me that's going to change what I think about her, how I feel about her, or her family. There is nothing that's going to change that. We've been through a lot together. And there's a reason why she's my emergency contact. And for all you people that keep crying about that, keep crying. Keep crying. They say Spilotro would never get into Sam's house. Well, you have an interesting sort of, that's an interesting comment because I happen to kind of agree with that as well. Because Spilotro was known as a hit guy, like a murderer. So, but like I said, we're never going to know. We're never going to know. We could sit here from now until St. fucking Swithin's Day making this argument. But maybe you raise a good point. I personally think that's who did it. And if somebody said, give me your top three, my second would be Butch Blasi. The third one, I guess would be Accardo, but I don't know. Maybe he just fell cooking that sausage and dropped the gun and he killed himself. Like Frank Nitti somehow managed to kill himself by shooting himself in the back of the head 6 times. Oh, God. How's your secret mafia family? Like your mother's crotch, salty and hammered out. How you like that? What secret mafia family? You guys invent and just make up the stupidest shit. At least if you're going to come in here and use your real name and show your face. Then we can talk. If you're not willing to do that, then just be quiet. I don't think Gotti defends blame Gravano for everything, even after he flipped when he could do it. No, I mean, if you go and listen to the wiretaps, like they're all available on YouTube. What Gotti is doing when he's sitting with Frankie Loke is he's explaining he's got rebar, gem steel. He's got all of these companies. How did he get these companies? And Frankie's like, well, basically absorption, right? But the most interesting wiretap ever. And listen, if I can decipher this, I don't understand why the feds couldn't. He basically is talking about a guy that was murdered. Okay. And he says to Frankie, Sammy told me he was stealing from us. Did he ever steal a dime? Frankie's like, no, he wouldn't steal a dime from us. John says, I went back and looked and not a dime was taken. Nothing was wrong. I took his word for it that this guy was stealing. And what this is John realizing that Gravano has essentially lied to him and murdered his way to attain businesses. And that's my whole thing. And listen, people can argue, say, well, John shouldn't have been, screaming and upset and whatever. But, and listen, you would be right about that. Okay. But that's the reality. And this is what people who love Gravano never talk about. And the fact that he killed a fucking 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid, like that should just make anything he has to say fucking irrelevant. I've known Joy Faraci for a long time. I've known about the Alan Kaiser story for a long time. And this sick, evil bastard, this sick, evil, child-killing bastard had the balls to say, this kid came running towards the car. We had no choice. Well, then how did he get shot from behind? And why is he on the right-hand side of the car? Like Gravano still doesn't admit to that. And if he does, he takes it back and then he changes. You kill a kid like that, there's just nothing for you. Nothing for you. And just the audacity that the FBI let him walk from that. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Listen, if you're going to let him walk for 19 murders, which did not, and of those 19, Alan Kaiser was not included in that because he was a John Doe, because they didn't want the jury to find out that he was a 17-year-old kid. That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick because there are guys in this life that we talk about on this show that did less than him and are never getting out of prison. So at some point, there has to be some sort of counterbalance. The problem is they wanted John Gotti bad enough that they were willing to make a deal with the fairy gangster. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. A man should never care or worry about what someone. Oh, I know. Mario, Angels on my. They keep crying and screaming about her being on my emergency list. Wouldn't that tell you I fucking know her? And I think that's what the issue is. I think all these people want to know her so bad, and they're like, "Oh, he doesn't really know her." Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of do. We talk every day. Every day. Even when we're pissed off at each other, we talk every day. My phone will go off. You jerk, spiffy, blah, 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 blah. That's how we are. That's how we've always been. And that's how we're always going to continue to be. Trust me, she's a good judge of character. I think a lot of people, a lot of people like to say, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. She does. You guys, I wish you could be privy to the conversations I have with her, because a lot of the things that some people on YouTube say about her, oh, she doesn't know how to judge people. Look, she's bringing this turn on, that turn on. Do you think she doesn't know their turds? Do you think she doesn't know what she's doing? Did it ever occur to any of you that maybe she puts people on intentionally just to piss you off? I said this to her, and I'll say it publicly. She's a gangster. There's another Gotti that's a gangster. She's a gangster. She knows what she's doing. She's very smart. She's very calculating. Trust me when I tell you that. She's not dumb. People that think, oh, she's dumb. Look, she's bringing this one. She's just doing it to agitate the people that don't like her. And she's winning. She's winning. There is not another channel on here that I'm aware of that has as many paid memberships as her. And you guys all said, oh, her show's going down the tube. She has no content. She doesn't. She interviewed Armand DeSante. How many of you have done that? She's had on all kinds of people. How many of you done that? Not many. Just my opinion. You can say that I, carry a candle for Angel all day long. Sure. You can pull up the Giancana. I don't want to do that because then I'm going to lose my monetization. If I play another video, I'm going to lose monetization. I don't want to do that, even though I'm only going to get pennies, nickels. Also, guys, if you can donate, please, I would appreciate it. There's the PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, whatever the fuck they are. Please donate if you can. Gravano lied, said Alan was a drug addict too. His first words were probably lies. No, and I agree. And that is, Stacy is telling the truth. There was Sammy and I think it was Lee Molito were sitting outside of a club. Sammy was trying to kill a guy who they thought had shot at them a week prior or had done something. And basically the story changed. At first it was a mistaken identity. And then it was, they were worried that there was a witness. But the funniest thing, it's not funny. I don't mean to say funny. That's a horrible thing to say. The ironic thing about it is, he was a drug addict running towards us at the car. Like when gunshots start going off, why would you run towards the gunfire? Nobody in their right mind does that. They turn and go the other way. And the autopsy proves that he was shot and killed from behind. Punks do that. The outfit still gets busy in Elmwood Park. That's what I hear. Did Gunnar Lindblom interview Armand? Gunnar Lindblom is a fraud. Gunnar Lindblom is like a bank robber, meth head, whatever. He is not a gangster. No gangsters. A lot about Gunnar is bullshit. I don't know if he did. Maybe he did interview him. I'm not really sure. Sammy changing his stories? You don't say. No, he does. I don't believe a word of anything he says about Philadelphia, the hit that took place there. Oh, I didn't want to kill. I don't buy any of that. I don't buy anything the guy says. Let's see. Let's see. Where are we? Stacy, did I get this one? Yeah. I'm trying to think of what the biggest story he changes is. I think, Well, let's be let's be realistic for 1 second. And no, I'm not bringing you on my show. You had your opportunity the first 10 minutes. You're a low life, and I'm not having you on my show. Go play in the sandbox with the other people that lie and invent and look up dirt on people, because you're no better. And I am not bringing anybody on this show that looks up dirt on people, because that's some coward rat shit. That's what that is. Take that, stick it up your ass, and go somewhere else. Thank you and have a nice day. The biggest thing I think with Gravano is, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but since he came to YouTube, his stories were kind of this way, but then all of a sudden they started getting bigger and taller and more in depth. But then simple shit, he'll go, oh, I can't remember. Oh, I can't remember this. Oh, I can't. How can you not remember that? This guy remembers every fucking hit he ever took part in, but he can't remember like a little simple shit. It's very weird to me. Let me tell you something. Mob guys have a memory that doesn't stop. And especially when it comes to doing really bad stuff, you don't forget that. Maybe Sammy and Leonetti were trying on toupees together, sharing a room. Man, let me ask you guys a chat in the question, or a question in the chat. By the way, guys, I don't think that was the real common sense, because I've had him blocked on this channel forever. So that was not the real common sense. Just so you guys know, I've had him blocked on this channel forever. And I don't even know why he'd want to come on here either. He got caught trying to dig up dirt. That's it. That's the end of it. So if that is you, which I don't think it is, you got caught doing it. So just move on with your life. You're a grown adult looking up dirt on people. That's what you do. Like, what kind of life is that? Let's see. Maybe Sammy. Okay. So let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think, had Phil Leonetti, first of all, Phil Leonetti does not go bad until he's already sentenced to like 40 years or some crazy shit. Do you guys think, had he been a little smarter, do you guys think he would have ended up a boss at any point? Or do you think, regardless, Nicky would have overrode everything from prison? Because we saw Nicky tried to run it from prison and look what happened. It's interesting. Interesting. I don't know who you are, video game boss, so I'm not letting you in. I have no idea who you are. Let's see. Sammy called Funzy Terry's wife a blowjob, then denied it. Wow. Really? I don't watch. I gotta admit, I do not watch any of Sammy's stuff. Every once in a while, people send me clips. But I really don't watch a lot of his stuff, so I couldn't tell you. Louis Casman is the Gambino version of Leo Getz. He flipped and snitched. You know what, JJ? That is the best description of Louis Casman I've ever heard in my life. Whatever Leo wants, Leo gets. Oh my God, that is absolutely perfect. And Angel, if you're listening, you've got to look up Joe Pesci as Leo Getz. Lethal Weapon, and it will totally make sense. That is Louis Casman. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Let's see. I don't think Leonetti had the smarts. I would agree with you. I don't think he was that bright of a guy either. I think a lot of Leonetti's prowess came from the fact that Nicky was, his uncle. But there's some people that have told me throughout the years that Leonetti was an absolute psycho. I don't know. Never met the guy. Never wanted to. But, it's par for the course. You hear some interesting things, and some things are just sort of blown out of proportion. Nicky would run everything from prison. Leonetti was the uncle's puppet. I would agree. I would agree with that. Salvi would have maybe challenged Phil. Salvi was boss material. I think he was too. And that's the tragedy in what happened to Salvi Testa. And that's the one thing that always kills me about Leonetti is I have always thought that Leonetti, first of all, Nicky was paranoid to begin with. Anybody that knew Nicky will tell you that, right? And I think that, when Leonetti did that interview and he says, well, Salvi was my best friend. They're like, well, you could have warned him. He's like, well, no, because then I would have been killed. Well, probably so. That's accurate. But I think he also put shit in Nicky's head. He put shit in Nicky's head because Salvi really honestly stood in the way of Leonetti getting what he wanted. That's my opinion. I don't think, and I also think that Nicky used what happened with Salvi and somebody who I won't mention, their sister getting married and that not happening as an excuse to do it. Nikki didn't like the guy getting shined. Nikki didn't like anybody getting shined. Guys like Tommy Del Giorno and Nicky DeCrow and all of these other guys. I mean, these guys were in that life a long time and never talked on anybody. And then the minute Nikki starts going nuts and killing everybody, it's like, what are you going to do? And I've always said this, and people are going to hate me for saying this, but Nikki had a way of making his own guys become rats just out of fear. You know what I mean? Let's see. I don't watch Sammy's show. They covered on No Excuse. Oh, well, there you go. Sammy likes to call his victims junkies. This is what all mob guys do. Mob guys, for some reason, always do. If they're mad at you, they call you junkies. Joey Merlino called me a junkie. I've never done a drug in my fucking life. Pot. That's not a drug. Never done a drug in my life. Never, ever, 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 ever. But that's what they do. They want to call you junkies. That's what they do. And, that's crazy. Maybe they would have tried to hit Leonetti like Nicky Jr. That's exactly what I suspect, Anthony. And I think that's pretty much close to the vest. I did some short videos of Lewis with Leo Getz' voice. Oh my God, that's fucking awesome. That is hilarious. I did some short videos of Lewis with Leo Getz' voice. One was on the drive-thru scene. Yeah, that's the best scene. That's the best scene. They fuck you in the drive-thru. That's awesome. I think being around Scarfield, you have to be psycho to some degree. Yeah, you got to take a lot of temperatures. Nikki was, I know Nikki's cousins and none of them have a lot to say about him, but they all said, you didn't, they said when Nikki was drunk, it was even worse. I can only imagine. If Salvi isn't killed, does he gown down with Scarfo after some of them guys flip? Is he gone down? I don't know. See, this is where so the press dubbed him, the Crown Prince of Philadelphia and all of that. And Salvi was a tough guy. Salvi didn't fuck around. He didn't mince words. He was a tough guy. He knew how to earn money. I just don't know how much the feds were really on to him. I mean, I'm sure they were to some extent, like largely, but not like they would have been with Nikki. And that's the only benefit to having, it's a benefit and a detriment, because the benefit is this guy's over here doing all the crazy shit. I'm just going to sit over here and do my thing. Problem is, he also does crazy shit, which brings sort of attention to everybody else. You know what I mean? Nikki was just like Messino, killed everyone that could have challenged him. Absolutely 100% right. 100%. How about Nikki wanting Tommy Del Giorno to kill Chucky's kid, Joey? Imagine if Tommy Del killed and followed through. What would have become of Philly? That's $1 million question. It's funny because I lived like 10 minutes from Tommy Del when he was in the witness protection program. Everybody knew who he was. I didn't know him, never met him, nothing like that, but everybody talked about him. And what's funny is Tommaso Buscetta, the informant from Italy, was literally 2 blocks from where they had Tommy Del Giorno living in Virginia Beach. There you go. Strange stuff. Yep. And I think it's in one of the books. They got photos of Tommy Del barbecuing on the beach. I was going to ask why mob guys always resort to calling people junkies. Seems like their go-to. Well, it's either that or they say CS, the CS word, which I'm not going to say here, but that just seems to be what they kind of want to do. Yeah. I'll drop the link for you. And second of all, let me just make this really clear. I wasn't talking shit about common sense. I just said that this is what he did. That's it. If you can't handle me saying that, then I don't know what to tell you. Go on your 10 little other shows and lie. That's fine. Make up and invent and hang out with Fag Perosa, because that's what you do. That tells me everything about you anyway. I've never liked you. I never will. And that's just the truth. But if you had an issue, you should have come to me like a man instead of running to another show to run your mouth. Tells me how tough you are. So if that was you and I blocked you, then I apologize for that. But I don't think it's you, because you've been blocked on this channel for a long time because of some shit you said that wasn't true about me on another channel, 2 other channels, actually. Just some advice. Find a hobby, get a job. Well, you do have a job, actually. I take that back, but find a hobby. Hello.
It's going slow, the connection. If it's
No, you You look fine on my end. I don't know who this is, so
I'm good now.
no, there's somebody in the background. I don't know who they are, so
Oh. Meeting a lot of new friends tonight, man.
no, I hold on. See, that's the thing. When they don't like show their, like, if I can't see their face, I'm not letting them on. And I already know where they're coming from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So stupid. Give me 1 second. Do you have any interesting stuff about Fat Andy? Not really. He's a tough guy, street guy. His son's a fucking joke. I'll say that much. I think his son has lived off his father's coattails for like 100 fucking years already. And he looks like Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. Chris, are you there?
I'm here, man. I was just thought, just letting you finish. No, I was reading a thing with Skeets talking about Tommy Dell and
keep talking. Just go ahead and talk. I got to grab something.
Yeah, no problem. No, actually, Skeets, I know. I work in the state prison, and I'm around some South Philly old timers, and I know a guy that I'm not going to say his name, that knows the Ioneses, Charlie Ionese, and what the fuck? Oh, Joey Messina, not the Messina from Philly with the mustache and shit. He's close with those guys. But hope everybody's night's going good. Yeah, it was a fucking 45-minute drive home.
Oh, so I said this at the top of the show. This is the last public live we're doing. Everything after this is going to be members only because I'm going to do some things on the members only. I got a couple of guests coming on the show. I'll tell you like later on who you'll know one of them, or a couple of them actually. But we're just gonna move to members only just to weed out some of the shitheads and other stuff. And listen, if I only get 20 people in the members only, I don't care. At least I don't have to deal with the influx of shitbags.
Yeah, we'll have a good conversation, or you guys will have a good conversation. It'll be cool. Sounds good to me.
Let's see, Chris, what do you think about this? Do you think Leonetti got Salvi killed?
You know what? I wasn't around back then, but I was telling Skeets before, and I mentioned working where I work. I know this old head from South Philly at where I work in the state prison, and I brought that up to him, and he was just he didn't really go for it, but I mean, not like he was really close to those guys. He just said Salvi was his own guy. Like he didn't need anybody. He just said Salvi had a lot of guys riding with him on his own accord. But you never know. I mean, it definitely could have been because he was definitely, an up and comer, if you want to call it that.
I think, what I think a lot of it was? I think a lot of it was the fact that, first of all, I think we could both agree Nicky was a little paranoid, to say the least, and he didn't want anybody getting any accolades.
Yeah.
And I think, so here's where the real question comes. Did Leonetti have anything to gain with Salvi being gone?
Well, I mean, like you said, maybe it was Leonetti that was the one that was jealous. Like he didn't want Salvi getting the shine. Maybe he wanted to shine. I don't know. Like, did he have anything to gain? I mean, if Nicky went away, possible competition with Salvi. I don't know.
And that's what I was hoping you would say, because that's what I've always thought it was. And the thing is, with the guys that I did know down there, nobody ever had a bad word to say about Salvi, ever. Nobody did.
It just seems like he was the young prince, the up and coming guy that was really supposed to be, not prince, it's a stupid fucking word, but like I said, even the guy I knew, like some of the old timers at my place, I mean, he was the young up and coming fucking guy. Like he was the guy. If you think of now, who's going to run Philly 20 years from now? It's kind of hard to think. I mean, you might think of a few names. But if you were to ask that question in the 80s, who's going to run, 80s, 90s, who could run Philly 20, 30 years from now, Salvi would have been the guy you would have thought of.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have mentioned the other guy's name at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's just who, because he was higher up than the other guy at the time. Maybe.
Well, and I will say this: as much as I don't like that other guy, I will say this: he's no joke. He was never a joke in any stretch of the imagination. Like I will never take that away from that guy. He's an asshole and a prick. Don't get me wrong, and he's a jerk off, and I don't like him, but you can't take away from the moxie and you can't take away from the toughness because he was no joke.
That's Philly through and through, man. I mean,
100%.
Listen, I think that's one of the best, the coolest mob story. I mean, stories going. I mean, you think about that, and it's the same. Like, listen, and I keep referring to these guys I know, that I work with and stuff. The guys like, listen, with Stanford and shit, they're like, listen, these guys, Joey and the guys they're like, their fathers died for this shit. Their uncles went to prison. Their grandfathers, they died for that. We're not letting some other fucking guy take this over. And to take to take a crew of guys you grew up with that were what like in their 30s at the fucking time, and go to war, and go to war and say fuck you to a guy who had backing from New York. That's a ton of respect I have for that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really blue collar through and through.
That's why I always say people that cover organized crime, Philadelphia is an entity all to itself, and they don't understand it unless they get around guys like that, because they are on a whole different level. And people will disagree with what I'm about to say. They're old school. People will say, oh, no, they're all just buddies. No. If you ever want a glimpse into what 1960 Cosa Nostra looks like, that is that right there. Maybe. Go ahead.
What does it make a difference if they're buddies? Like, you could be buddies and still be old school.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially, the guy who allegedly running it now, he's probably as old school as it gets. Some of these guys.
That's my guy.
Yeah,
that's my guy. Well, yeah, and I think they, all of this washwoman stuff that kind of goes back and forth on YouTube, right? I always sort of kind of cringe when guys that have never been to Philly, like, okay, Scott, I'll give Scott a little credibility here. Scott knows what he's talking about when it's like, when he gets into the street gang shit with the black gangs and stuff like that. He knows his shit. I can't compete with the guy when it comes to that and bikers.
Right.
However, where I sort of draw a line in the sand is you're saying stuff about people that Chris, that I know.
Right.
And when you're so far out of left field that you're saying certain things that I know they're not capable of, to me, that's just like a stretch and it's reaching. And I heard one of the guys he gets all his information from is Gene Borello, who doesn't know anything about them anyway.
No.
So it just, come on.
Gene trashes Philly all the time, though, because he thinks they're just small. There's only like 10 total guys that run.
No, he's wrong about that. Let me.
There's a certain amount of guys there that just will never flip on anybody, and it's just a tight knit group.
Sicilian Syndicate says, I think Salvi was the Frank Cali of Philly Young.
I can see that. I mean, maybe not would have rose to as powerful as Frank Cali, but I can see the comparison.
I mean, he's
making it.
From what I understand, he was a hell of an earner. He made a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
How bad did Nicky screw over Long John in terms of his Long John sentence? Yeah, that's a good point. That's I got to be very careful about touching that subject, and I think Chris, you understand why I'm not going to touch that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gene been on a tear while in house arrest. Yeah. Well, that's the problem. Some people learn, some people don't. And listen. Even the one thing that I saw Dominic Sicali say something the other day, and it kind of caught my interest a little bit. He says, I don't like the skinny guy, whatever. But the guy was a gangster. There's no way around that. He is who he was, and that's sort of the thing. But he also did raise a good point where he said, but as a XYZ, if you're allegedly an XYZ, you shouldn't be on YouTube. And I kind of got to agree with that too. But that's,
sure.
Listen, when has that guy ever done anything that's the standard? Never. Not once. Not
I was
once.
thinking, and listen, this is just coming out for left field. I'm not making any predictions or assertions about anybody. But do you think when he started this podcast going into it, knowing that he had the FBI up his ass his whole fucking life, do you think in the back of his mind, knowing that he's probably going to make good money on, starting a podcast, that he knew, okay, this could be a way out. I know this will get me out, maybe get the FBI off my back, and then I could just be do you think that could have played a role?
I would love to tell you that that's the way that guy thinks, but no. Yeah. I think I could be wrong based on what I know and the people I know and being around him a little bit here and there. I think it's a money grab for him. He's about the money. It's
Sure.
and
Yeah.
I think it also legitimizes him to some extent, right? Because now he's got a business. So
That's
this is
what I'm getting at.
yeah.
And now that it's out there, if he's not running stuff anymore, and the FBI knows that, he could now be free of, he could be free of them now. Maybe he'll never totally be free of them, but
No, I don't think
there's nothing wrong with a money grab. Hey, that's what people do. You start, I have no issue with a guy trying to make money. I wish I could make a couple dollars more, but I don't know. I always thought of that in the back of the head. I mean, I know members don't change their spots, kind of like your, unfortunately, another friend, down there, but
yeah.
who's the last guy that needs to get involved in anything, but I mean, it's just.
No, I mean, I don't listen. This guy, listen, here's the truth. And this is this goes for New York, it goes through Louisiana, wherever the fuck organized crime still exists, right? Once you're on that radar and they can't nail you with murder charges, they're always gonna look for something. So this guy could legitimately become a priest tomorrow, work in a church, say hello to one or two guys down there, and the feds are gonna say he's running shit. That's just the way it is. And a lot of that is just because once you sort of get the black mark on you, it's over with, right? So there, and I can say this much: listen, and I don't like the guy, right? But I'm not gonna lie on him. But that whole indictment that he got charged with was nonsense. Was fucking nonsense. There was nothing on him, nothing gambling. The feds do the feds do not fucking drop charges and plead out the bullshit gambling when they have a tight case. And that's what pissed off the judge. Joey always said, the fucking Judge Sullivan hated me. He didn't. He really didn't, because he said at the end of the prior to sentencing that he believed Joey was done, had walked away, et cetera, et cetera. But he made a point to say, wait a minute, you guys want to fold the tents here. You told me you had a clear and cut dry case. We've spent all of this money. We've been here 8 weeks arguing this shit, and you're just giving up. And that's the whole point. The feds will not give up. They're not going to give up if they don't have if they got a good case, they're not going to give in. And they gave in.
Saw something recently. I don't know, some podcast or somebody saying that the feds are no longer going to go after bullshit cases like they're, just the bullshit gambling cases, that it's not enough. They need more, they're not going to go. But
so I happen to know, and this may be somewhat breaking news, that they had pulled off the organized crime task force that was watching Philly. They had pulled them off about 4 years ago. They just pulled them off. You're talking Phil's stupid case, fucking Joey's gambling case, Sonny's stupid bullshit that they tried to accuse him of doing, all gambling, extortion bullshit. But I heard now they have another squad watching. So, and that doesn't surprise me, because the minute that all the news started cycling out through other people about what had allegedly taken place, and I know I say I don't talk about current shit, so I'm trying to be careful, but it just goes to show that there may be validity to a lot of what's being said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's Philly, as much as you've lived down there and you hung out there with me and you go down there on your own, but it's such a small enclave. You know what I mean? That you fart. Just the way that they harassed another one of my friends down there nonstop, and he's running a legit business, a construction business.
You told me that's crazy.
You know what I mean? And that's just that's just the reality of it, unfortunately. So what else is going on with you?
You remember that biker rally I went to last year? I think I'm going to tomorrow. Maybe your buddy will be there. Yeah. I think it's the same one. It's it's Brookhaven, PA. Which is outside of Philly. I think it's near Bucks County or some shit. But it's supposed to be nice. Get the fuck out of the house. Do something. So,
no, I don't blame you. You might see a familiar face or two.
Yeah. Does he still mess with those guys and talk to them?
Of course. Of course. You know, the guy I haven't heard from the guy in Europe in months. I think he's in prison. I think
Well,
he's
you
by the
said
way.
it was, yeah.
Well, yeah, because he got sentenced, and I was waiting for him to go away, and like I never heard nothing, so I'm just largely expecting that he's probably locked up for the next 3 years. So, but that's insane shit that goes on over there. I'm gonna hit a couple of more questions in the chat really quick. I think OC as a whole have a good run. No, I agree with you. Nikki Crow didn't do anything that Nikki Scarfo told him to do in the Penn's Landing deal with Willard House. Long John sentence, same. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, you're right. I can't argue that. Can't argue that whatsoever. I don't know. Somebody was trying to come in that was calling themselves Common Simp.
I saw it as I was.
And I don't know if that was him or not, but I'm not bringing on anybody to fight with them about what they did. It's just stupid to me. Like, I don't have time for this shit. That's what went down. They took a stupid, silly photo, tried to say I was this and that. It's so dumb. Like, these people don't have anything better to do.
You ever hear anything back in the day about like who ran the docks in Philly? Because I heard it was like the 10th and O crew. Like,
you're right, 100%.
That's another thing that came from my old timer.
100%. 100%.
And the guy wanted in on that, so. But.
Yeah, no, it was actually, and that's what's weird. Like when I was going through those FBI files, they were talking about like 10th and O, like even New York still ran who. It was kind of split down there between the Philly guys and 10th and O and a bunch of other, and the Jewish guys too as well. So it's New York kind of streamlined everything.
You know, it's how you say it's a small enclave, and it is small. And it's just funny, the connections of going back to the days of what the fuck? Well, the Junior Black Mafia, but before they're the Junior Black Mafia, kind of like the Black Panthers, the Islam guys, and which was, a religious sect that became the violent faction and then became the JBM. And I know, listen, there's another dude in prison. There's not a lot of guys. I'm just being honest. I'm so used to it there. Not like I don't get scared being in prison around these guys, and I'm with them all day. But there's a dude there that's a fucking serious dude, like a JBM guy. And he did stuff with, he knows Joey well. And even those guys, like for being the small enclave, there was always connections with different groups,
Well, yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, like that's the difference between when people try to compare and contrast leadership, like down there, especially. Bruno, like, got a cut of everything, legitimately. And then it kind of changed in the 90s. And I don't really know if they were getting a cut of anything, but if they're not, then it's like you always say to me, like, if you're making XYZ, what's the point? What's the point? If you're making all kinds of money, like, why get involved in that? Like,
I'd be gone. Listen, there's something I got to say to Happy Jack here. They fucking suck anymore. I came back from Costa Rica. I used to like 10th and Oregon fucking steaks. They always had good solid steaks, good strips. Like, I don't like it chopped up all fine. Like, I like it sliced in. That's fine. I went there after Costa Rica after fucking 10 hours waiting to get home, and I stopped in bad transmission, stopped there, and it was like fucking morsels. They chopped their fucking meat up so much. It pissed me off.
I hate the saloon. I can't stand the fucking saloon.
I ate there once. I thought it was great. I know you don't like it.
I ate there, and I was like, this is disgusting. It was just the service is great. I'm not saying that. I just thought the food was shit. I thought Dante Luigi's was better.
I ate there too. I'll tell you what, when I was there, my son, years ago, we went to Ralph's. Somebody said Ralph's got the best veal around. And I went to Ralph's. I got veal saltimbocca. It was fucking great. It was the best veal I ever had. But the saloon, I also got this thing called veal Mondelez. And it was fucking good, man. I liked it. But
is Angel in the chat? Because I see somebody saying hello to Angel, but I don't see her in the chat.
Is Costa Rica? Costa Rica's not like a big resort place. They have some resorts and stuff. It's more of a nature place. Like, see the fucking rainforest, monkeys, beautiful beaches, shit like that. It wasn't like a luxurious vacation. It was just to see some cool shit. And I got things of animals waking me up in the middle of the night. You fucking sounded like dinosaurs.
Yeah, that was, I heard that, and so did my friend. My friend was over when we heard that one. What the fuck? Dinosaurs. Fucking dinosaurs, man.
Yeah.
So let's see. The Vancouver Mafia is the new big thing. Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge, they're not. I mean, not to say that there isn't, but that's not where the hub of activity would be. That would surprise me if that that was the case. You probably had the backup crew. Yeah, I might have. Who knows? Hey, I just wasn't that good, and I mean, it wasn't expensive or nothing. Me and Elio were there, and he was like, "Oh, let's go to the saloon." I'm like, ugh. So we went, and I didn't like it. But then again, was it better than my other favorite? Well, nah. What's the place here I can't stand, Chris?
Oh, Peter Luger's.
Oh God, those
Is
bastards!
that what you're talking about?
I would eat at the saloon again before I ever step into Peter Luger's ever again. And I've eaten at Sparks Steakhouse, and that's where it's at. Yeah.
Jeff hates some of the best places that people love to eat.
Yeah. Go to Peter Luger's. For those that don't know the story, go to Peter Luger's, and Elio orders the bacon, which is like this goddamn thick. Okay, well, appetizer of bacon. This is going to end well. And they're like, "How would you like your steak?" I'm like, "Medium well." You can't do that. They're like, "It's got to be like fucking rare." And I'm like, "No, well, it's our aging process. If I'm paying $58 for a fucking steak and I want it black singing, that's what's going to happen. Dance it over to me, Spider. Dance my steak over to the table." I was so offended. And then he took me to another place in Ozone Park, and I can't remember. I had a baseball hat on. And this prick walks over and goes, "Take off your baseball hat." And I'm looking around. There's like 80 other people with hats on. And I'm like, "What the fuck's wrong with my hat?" "Take your hat off." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. Eat my ass." Listen, if it was a sit-down, fine dining establishment, I would never. Yeah. It was a fucking pizza joint. Take my hat off. Maybe it's because of a Red Sox hat. Maybe that's what it was.
Oh. I felt like, what was it? An Italian running it? Because they're funny with that shit, man.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it was. I'm not really sure.
There's a pizza joint by where I work. I go to a lot. The guy's straight from fucking Sicily, man. And there's like an Uber driver who came in there with his hat on, and he started snapping on him. Like, they're old school with that shit, man. Then he started taking pictures of the place. I thought he was gonna fucking kill him. This pizza owner.
Let me just answer this. Not sure. I think people just try to look for stuff sometimes, and that's it. You should flag. Listen. At the end of the day, people are entitled to say whatever they want. It doesn't matter to me at the end of the day. If it goes too far, then that is what I'll do. 100%. But if you guys notice, I don't come on here and call names. Other than like a couple, but I don't come on here and invent. I don't come on here and get personal. I don't pull up text messages. I don't pull up dirt on people because I don't care. This is just what some other people do. That's it. Nothing they say. Listen, you can ask Chris. If I was really upset about this would be a whole nother show. I really don't care. I just want to be left alone. If they don't want to do that, then I'll just flag channels, and they'll get the channels will be gone, and that'll be it. And if they think I can't do it, then fuck around and find out. But I don't want to have to do that. I just want to do my show and just kind of do my thing.
The whole thing, it gets like it's unfortunate how quick some little thing could be blown up and then turn into a battle with people on YouTube. And like, should he have said whatever when somebody was brought up Joey and you? I don't know exactly what he said. Should he have maybe like, "Hey, let me speak to Jeff about this first"? But
it was. I didn't know him. I didn't know him at all. I just worked on a court case with him. I was trying to act like a tough guy. Like, you're passively aggressively starting with me for no reason. Number one.
Was that FBS or was that the guy in his chat?
That was FBS.
Oh, that's not right, man.
Right. And then he also put Gene Morello on, who called me a rapist 2 years ago. And he had no problem doing that. So I let all of that go. It was, me, I try to be nice to everybody or whatever. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, if you're going to go on your show, don't lie. If that's your opinion, okay, but he knows better. You know what I mean? And that was the issue I had. And I just said, my whole point was, why are people so fucking worried about what I do? For 10 years, They have said everything about me. They will have you believe I kill puppies and children. Okay. And I'm still here after 10 years. Everything they say, I have proven to be what, Chris? Totally not true. And that's
and I'm just thinking, like, the whole thing with FBS, like, that's one guy over the years. Like, you've had little battles here and there with different guys and dust ups here and there. But, like, that's one guy over the years that you genuinely just left alone. Like, you didn't really battle with him. You never really had anything bad to say much.
No.
That's what I'm just saying. It was unfortunate. But
no,
whatever.
I mean, even when he was saying nasty stuff about Angel, I stayed out of it.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is that I just had a certain opinion about it. And he had a retort to it, which he put on his members only, and that's fine too. He's entitled to, if I say something, you are entitled to retort. However, when you passively aggressively try to dig up dirt, that's when I'm like, okay, now you're like doing some toddler shit, and it's just stupid. It's just stupid. It was a joke, but I also knew, because I told 3 or 4 people that I was going to do it. And they're like, oh, they're going to like reverse Google image search. I said, of course they are, but they can't look at me and see that I'm not Portuguese. Like, let's be realistic here. Right. And
that's a new one, man. Like I said, the Portuguese, holy shit.
No. And to bring to platform a guy on to run his mouth about me and say other things, and then allow Chris Casparosa in the chat to run his fucking mouth like he has any credibility. To me, it's just like, okay, now you're trying to start shit because either A, you want to earn money because that's the only way you know how, or you just want to fight with somebody. So I don't care what he says from here on out, but any lie he tells is getting flagged, and I'm going to get his channel taken down. That's it. I'm done playing these games. That's why I'm moving to members only, so I don't have to deal with it. It didn't have to be this way. Somebody could have reached out to me and said, hey, XYZ. Is this, like, somebody reached out to me today and says, hey, is that DNA thing a joke? And at first I was like, no, it's real. And then I'm like, no, it's a joke, and this is why I did it. And they're like, oh my God, that's funny. Because they totally went nuts with it. So my question is, if you don't like me, you can say I'm ugly, you can say this, you can say that, I don't like his show. But the reality is, all they do is like surreptitious, passive, dirty shit. And for what? You can't just have an argument. You got to go like that route. Like, have you ever seen me attack anybody's family or kids? No.
Listen, I'm not looking to beef with anybody, but I mean, he says that, like, he does the drama sells. Like, he likes having material like that to have, to make stories and to have shows. I just, that's his thing,
Yeah. And if you make money that way, I personally think, that's scummy, but if that's what you want to do. But the one thing I've always said is that everybody has a right to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And there's been horrible stuff done to him, but this whole idea that he's unstoppable and he's the killer. No, like that's false bravado. And it's just like, at some point,
well, he does have a big ego.
I'm 47 years old. I don't have the time in my day, nor do I care about him, his family, and whatever he might've been through. That's his personal business. But it's funny to me that that's the first thing they went and tried to do. Oh, he's lying about the DNA. Look at him. He's a liar. I told you so. I told you. You're a dumbass, because I just simply proved to everybody on MobTube and YouTube that that's exactly what you're capable of doing. And without provocation. If I had to put up a document or I had to put up a photo, okay, fine. Do what you will. But I did none of that. And this is the immediate go-to they go. And what these people don't understand, and this, I want to teach everybody a lesson, and then I don't want to talk about this again. When you accept money and you're defaming someone, you will lose in court. Because this is what these people don't understand. When you monetize your show or you're getting donations based off saying fictitious things about people or ugly shit, you are going to lose in a court of law, because you cannot earn money off lies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I try to tell people that all the time. Be careful what you say, because you can be I'm not going to sue anybody. I don't want to even do that. That's not the point. The point is, if you just want to beef with me because I said something you didn't like, okay, we can discuss that. But when you go that far with it, no, that's where I kind of draw the line. Because if you notice, and I'm just going to be honest, the man cannot have an argument without talking about somebody's mother, somebody's child, or digging up dirt on them. That's his go-to, and that's cowardly shit.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just my opinion.
it shouldn't. Nobody should go that route, you know. And it's.
But I will say this:
It's
people have
crazy
done
this gone on so long. Like
people have
not
done
only
that
with
to
you,
him.
I just in general. Like it's
People have done
everybody.
that to him. People have done that to him too. So it's not like he's
It's,
out and going crazy and doing this to everybody. Because there's a lot of
yeah,
people that do it. He's not the only one.
and he'll
But
say, "Listen, if you come at me with this, I'm going to go back at you. You're giving me the green light." Then, so I get it. It's just crazy. He goes on that fucking long. It's like, you know, watch a different movie after a while. Fucking change the channel. Like holy shit, years and years into that shit, man.
he once asked me, "How do you deal with all this shit?" I said simply, "I don't get involved anymore. I don't care." I said, "You got to learn to ignore people." He doesn't have thick skin at all. He has very thin skin, and I get it. I have thin skin at times. You know that as well as anybody. But when you start like going on my community page, just looking to start shit, and you're bringing on a guy who you're buddies with to start shit, it's kind of like, bro, is this what your life has become? Like having 5 people show up.
That's what the fucking guy does. That the worst person that seems to be like that is the fucking guy in Providence. It's like,
oh well, but you know what though, and here's my point. And somebody brought this point up, and I'm not going to say who it was. They messaged me earlier. They said, you know, why do people waste so much time nitpicking a picture you post when there is somebody like the guy in Providence online? That's my point. They don't attack the people that really, really deserve that. They go after people they think they can make money off of. And that's fine. I hope he makes $1,000.
I'm on YouTube a lot. You know, I don't watch everybody's stuff, but I'll you know, like tune in here and there if I see something. When you did that interview with Jake Stoops, shortly after that interview, that guy in Providence, he was on there trying to pick it apart. And I love it when it's one guy that you're not there to defend yourself. When every other sentence he stops and says, "No, that's not true. No, this happened." No, to me, it's just so weak to do. Like it's just weak to sit there, play a video when you're the only person there picking it apart with nobody else there to back it up. And anyways, he played that shortly after. And a couple months back, I'm on. Now you did that interview with Jake a year ago, a couple of years
2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago.
I was on you. You know, I'm a night owl. I'm up 2, 3.
Yeah, I know.
I fucking was on YouTube, and he was on again, playing that same video, doing the same fucking thing again. I mean, we're talking 2, 3 years down the fucking road, and this guy's going back to this same fucking. I mean, this is an obsession. Like that's fucked up.
Well, he made a threat that he was going to bomb my building. That's what somebody told me. He was making threats that he was going to bomb my building. Not very smart. Yeah. Not very smart thing to do. Number one, I'm not going to call the cops. I don't give a shit. Fuck him. But my whole thing is he went on for like 2 hours the other night talking about my dead sister again. Do I ever talk about his family?
Oh, it's fucked up, man.
So that's my point. I don't go to that level. Because my issues with him, not with people he's related to. Oh, why would anybody want to adopt him? Blah, blah. This is the sick shit that he does. And the reason why I don't engage it is there's various reasons why I don't. Most importantly, there's something wrong with him. He's obsessed, like a lot of people. Yeah. He's like the Jared Hams of the world that are obsessed with me. And that's the whole thing. Like when I get up, I get up during the day. I got things to do. I'm not thinking about any of these people. But like I told you, and like I tell him, got a big mouth. Come here then. It's that simple. If you're that tough, just come here and, you know.
You know what I find funny though? Like a contradiction. And he'll make a video off of this because that's what he does. But he thinks he knows who your real grandfather is. And
no, he doesn't.
He thinks he's some guy from Providence with some last name Thomas or something like that.
Right? No, that's what I told somebody else because I knew they'd run back and tell him.
Here's the thing. If his thing is that you're totally lying and bullshitting that you never lived in Providence or were never from there, then why would he think, even if he's wrong about it, why would he think a guy from Providence is your fucking grandfather? Like that doesn't make any sense.
No, and that's what's funny.
He thought I was from Boston.
Yeah, they thought you were a Boston Andy.
I was from Boston.
Yeah. They don't listen. I've never said I grew up. So this is where they cherry pick, right? My father was in the Navy. Everybody knows this. Like we moved
Yeah.
around, et cetera, et cetera. All my family is from Providence. All of them, Johnston, you name it, they're there. Especially in Lincoln. A lot of them have moved to Lincoln and Jamestown. I didn't say I grew up my whole life there. I went to school in Virginia Beach. I've always said that. I've never denied any of that, but they want to cherry pick, certain facets. And if he chooses to think that I don't have relatives in Providence, then that's his choice.
Yeah.
That's his choice. That's
It's
his
like
choice.
if you didn't grow up and go to school there, that you weren't. Listen, if there was somebody that could be lived down the road for me that lived here and had like till they're 6, 7 years old and moved away, I wouldn't know. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean that you weren't from.
Well, how much? Well, think about it for a second. How much backstory would I have to invent and make up?
Crazy. You couldn't.
Right?
No, couldn't do it. A CIA fucking guy couldn't do it. And there's people that think you do this. There are people that think you have 5 different fucking personas. It's nuts.
No.
It's.
They still think I don't live.
He likes acting and shit, but come on, Robert De Niro can't pull that shit off.
No, and they don't think I live in New York either.
That's another one. That's
like you've been here. Yes, I live in New York. Hello.
Fucking idiots.
No, they just and the thing is in their other caveat, and they do this a lot on YouTube too. They're like, "Oh, prove it." I don't have to prove a goddamn thing to a bunch of fucking middle-aged men sitting at home jerking off to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope. I've never ever said that. Nice try, Lewis. I've never ever said that. So thank you and goodbye. Hey, Easy, how you doing? This person wants to know what's the best cheesesteak in Philly.
I always ate Phillips on 24th and Passyunk Ave, and I honestly think they're as good as anybody's. I haven't been all over. I'll tell you what. So
I agree with you. What you just said.
What's that? Yeah,
Phillips.
Because I used to live in Grace Ferry, and when I would go home at night, they're right there. But they're as good as anyone's. I don't like Pat's. Geno's I like. People say, oh, it's a tourist trap. I don't mind Geno's. But like I said, Phillips is always my go-to because it was right there. Jim's, I think they chopped the meat up too fine. But I'll tell you what, and I never even heard of this place all these years until like this past year. Every fucking inmate in my prison tells me I got to go to Ishkabibbles. Ishkabibbles on South Street across from Jim's. Never had it. Never heard of it. Everybody says it's great.
He said you told some English guys in an interview. I've never spoken to an English guy in an interview in my life. Have you ever heard me say that publicly, Chris?
No clue.
Exactly. You told some English guys. No, I've never talked to any English guys. Like once again, it's made up bullshit. The only person that I've ever said publicly I was related to was Joe Badway. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Like I said, this guy lies. He invents. He makes up shit as he goes along. He'll have you believe that I'm from West Virginia too, and it's just not true. And every time that, like, I'll give you a good example. There was a guy that used to stalk me like crazy and invent all kinds of crazy shit. I got this guy's phone number from somebody I knew, called him and asked him on the phone, why are you inventing and making up shit when you know it's not true? He goes, because it's fun. So there you go.
He said, he played it a lot. You know what I mean? He played it. It's
So there you go. Everything that they've ever tried to say about me has been proven to be categorically false. Or it's half stories of a half story, right? And if anybody bothered to listen to my podcast, they would know I talked about my criminal case, showed paperwork from that. It's all nonsense what people say. They have nothing else, so that's what they go with. Yeah. Because remember, if you guys remember, I didn't know Joey. I was delusional. Then Joey says, yeah, I know him. Then goes apeshit because I said something nasty about him publicly. And then for the next 6 months, he kept talking about me. Let me tell you something about Joey. He didn't know me. We didn't have any interactions. The guy would not waste 6 months talking about me. And the man sitting on the screen will tell you verbatim that he was at a party with me and Joey.
Yeah, it was. And they knew each other. And it wasn't just like, hey, how are you in passing? Like, it was a legit conversation. He said, Oh, is that you? Jeez, I didn't recognize you. Kiss on the cheek, hung out, talked for a little bit. It was a good time. It was a fun night. You
Right.
know, that's
So I think what it is, I think what it is that people just can't understand it. And that's fine. They don't have to.
what it is now they can't say you didn't know him. So now it's flipping to, oh, he knew him, but he just like showed up at his trial, and that was
right,
like,
which is not true. Which is not true.
I think that's what Joey tells me. Like, yeah, when you started your show and all, you did go to cover the trial. You weren't there to like meet him. Like,
no.
You did go, but
I knew him prior.
From there, it went much deeper. You know.
Yeah, but I knew him prior to all of that. So
and the funny thing is the two other guys that you're really close with that are, but you know, you can't talk about them. But it's crazy. It's.
So you and FBS aren't cool anymore. We haven't been cool for a long fucking time. And the reason why we're not cool, and I'm going to say it publicly, because I think people don't understand. There was a guy named Tom Sheehy. Tom Sheehy was running his mouth about me in FBS's chat, lying about me, making up shit. I went into the chat and I said to Tom, why are you fucking lying about me? And he didn't say anything. And FBS got very angry that I came into his chat addressing one of his biggest donors. That was the text that I got. What the fuck? Are you out of your mind attacking one of my best donors? Are you trying to ruin my show? That told me that we were never friends, because he cared more about money than the principle of me being lied about. Because let the truth be told, and this is the hypocrisy on YouTube, if that had been somebody in my chat saying shit about him and I didn't block the comment or defend him, he would have been angry with me. So that's my whole point. If I don't know how to find Tom Sheehy because I don't know who he is, right? How do I address it? I just told him, stop lying about me and tell the goddamn truth. FBS got angry because he was afraid the guy wouldn't donate to him. That's when we stopped talking. That was almost 7 or 8, 9 months ago. That's why I've had nothing to do with him since.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. It was nothing that was crazy. I don't wish ill will on the guy, but this is just what happened. He thought that I was attacking his donor. He was afraid he would lose money. And let's be honest, if little old me can come into your chat and ask a guy why he's lying and that ruins your donations, then that guy doesn't give a fuck about you to begin with. So, and that's my problem. Money, listen, money for him is the bottom line. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with money, but when your principle is money over everything else, that's a problem. And that's why we stopped talking. That's why we were no longer friends. That's why I stopped going in his chat, because the shit pissed me off. Because if he had just said, hey, listen, I understand he lied about you, but, you know, that was like not the right place to do it, then I would have been like, okay, I understand that. But what is the right place? Every other channel but yours? So that's how that started. I don't wish him any ill will, but he just went and did something yesterday that was just fucking cowardly. And that's what I have a problem with. That's all. Let's see. I laugh at all the things they say about you and things you supposedly said. I've been listening to you for 10 years. You never said Buffalino was your grandfather. Well, no, I'm definitely not him. No, I'm very careful about what I say. But like Stacy listens to the podcast, I talk about my personal life. I talk about my family. Yeah. So what? I'm inventing all the pop stories now too.
It's nobody can invent like that. It's and keep it going and going and going.
Did you know Lee Roberts from Grace Ferry?
No, I'm talking to the guy in the chat. He sounds like a cool dude.
No.
Oh, he's saying it. But no, I'm just telling, I guess you know some people from there, because that's where I used to live. Grace Ferry's a big Irish neighborhood, and it's funny because like they have this, and there's some Italians there too, but they have this like little battle of who's the bigger Irish section of Philly, like the 2 Street section or Grace Ferry. But but that's a classic example of like how you say going back in time. Like you go to these little neighborhoods like Grace Ferry, you see the Irish flags out and all. You feel like you're in the movie The Bronx Tale. It's like the people act like they just came over on the boat and shit. I will say they like what's his face? Fucking Louis Farrakhan tried to have his Million Man March come through that neighborhood and we didn't let him.
So here's something that's funny. So I just want to make this a point, and I'm just going to say this, and a lot of people won't know what I'm saying, but the pinhead up north will get it. If I've never been to Rhode Island, How is it I knew who the parish priest was by name? How did I tell you he ate at my dinner, ate at my grandfather's every Sunday? Did I just invent that too? Why is my family buried at St. Anne's Cemetery and Mafia Row? That's the point I'm talking about. Like, how can I just did all that research and just, let me pick a Lebanese.
Well, that's, I mean, that's just fucking crazy to think that you can go with that. But there's people that believe you have this crazy persona and this ability to have his backstory of all these. That's crazy. And like I said, if he thinks some Thomas guy's your grandfather, and even though he's not, and this Thomas guy's from Rhode Island, then why does he think you're not from Rhode Island?
It doesn't make sense.
That's not his grandfather. I know his real grandfather. It's a Thomas. This guy named Thomas. Right, he's a regular nice guy. Well,
right. And my cousin is not Richard Almonte, a detective either. Is he? See, I'm going to put that out there now because now he's going to know who I know. Now who I'm related to. That's how I got the information. Hold on a minute. Lewis brings up a great point. Am I the only one who thinks cheesesteaks overall are overrated? Here's my thing about Philadelphia. All right. And I don't know if Chris can debate this with me or not. Why is it that you ever notice you go to Philly, there's not salt or pepper on the table?
So, you know what?
What the fuck? It's bland. All their food is goddamn bland.
I don't think it's bland, but believe it or not, until recently, when I lived there, I was single, so I wasn't going to like these fancy Italian, like I wasn't going to the saloon or Dante and Luigi's. I'm always going to the cheesesteak joints, and they're just takeout anyways. But no, I don't think the cheesesteaks are overrated. I like them. My favorite place that I ate at every fucking day was Nick's Roast Beef. I love Nick's Roast Beef on 20th and Jackson.
One of the best restaurants in Philadelphia is Chick's. If you're in South Philly,
Chick's was great too. Yeah.
If you're in South Philly, go to Chick's. And when you're there, if Gina is there, Cedrone, who is Phil's ex-wife, tell her you know Jeff Canarsie. Just tell her. You know how many people I've sent there? And they always tell me the same thing. I have guys that like listen to my show that live in like California, Ohio, and they're going to Philly on business. And they're like, hey, what's a great restaurant? I said, make sure you go to Chick's. And said, tell Phil or Gina, you know Jeff Canarsie. And every time they do that, either their bill gets comped or they get free drinks. Every fucking time.
Drink.
Yeah.
He bought me a drink, and then when I was fucking bitching about Notre Dame because they weren't covering the spread, he said, I hate those fuckers ever since Robert Blakely was around.
That's fucking hilarious. You've never told me that. That's awesome. That's hilarious.
I did. You don't remember? I'm there watching. I'm like, fucker. And there wasn't a lot of people there. It was me, Phil, and some older guy he was with. And there's nobody else at the bar. Maybe one or two people sitting down. And I'm like, fucking, I hate these fucking Notre Dame. And this very like calm voice goes, I hated those fuckers ever since that Robert Blakely.
And by the way, congratulations to Phil. He got married a couple of months ago, and he has a baby boy on the way.
Yeah, that's something else. Congrats.
Nah, listen. I love Gina. Gina's the best, right? Sometimes some things in life just they don't work for whatever reason. And one of the things when I found out, not that I should be talking about his business, but he has nothing but the utmost respect for her. And that's, so I'm happy for him. I'm happy for her. Unfortunate things just don't work out sometimes, but Phil's a good guy. He really is. He really is. I'm sorry. The thought of cheese was being an ingredient on a cheesesteak at some restaurants does not sound or taste appealing. I will agree with you. I do not fucking like whiz at all on any food. I just don't. We got a new place, G's, up here. Chris, when you come, we're going to go.
Yeah.
It is I don't want to get into like ownership and all of that, but there's fucking whiz on that. And I'm like, the fuck is, because Elio and I were there and he's like, what the I said, well, I'm like, what the fuck is this? He's like, whiz, you don't like the whiz? I said, fuck the whiz. I just want cheese, steak, salt, and pepper. I got to be able to taste it. You know what I mean?
I have a friend. You should see this fucking dude. The guy's 130 pounds soaking wet, but he eats like a fucking horse. And when he eats, it's a whole fucking event, man. Like it takes the guy, he'll eat every fucking morsel, but we're there 2 hours. But I took him to get a cheesesteak, and he was never in Philly. I took him to Philly cheesesteak a year ago. And he's like, cheese whiz. He's thinking like out of a can. That doesn't sound right. And I bought him a Gino steak, and he fucking loves it. He's addicted. Cooper Sharp is what a lot of people say is like the go-to now, Cooper Sharp. And I've never been to Angelo. There's places I'm hearing about that I guess been around. I'm old school. I just never heard. I never had Angelo's. I mean, like I said, my place is always Phillips, sometimes Geno's, every now and then Pat's. How many people in the chat heard of Ishkabibbles? Because every single inmate I fucking talk to tells me to go to Ishkabibbles.
And if you're in, and listen, this is probably going to upset some people, but if you're ever in Collingswood, New Jersey, go to Kitchen Consigliere, Angelo's place. I know I knock Angelo a bit, and I know we just fight, but he has good goddamn food. Well, sure that's one thing that Angelo can cook his fucking ass off. That's one thing I can say. I think is Disco Dean. Is he from Philly? I think he is. If you like cigars, go to Renzulli's. Renzulli's has great cigars. Elio's at Renzulli's all the time.
Well, that night he wanted to go there. He was talking about it. I remember.
Listen, we go down there. He's like, "Hey, I want to go to Renzulli's." I said, "Good, drop me off at the spot. You go to Renzulli's."
Yeah, right.
Because you know what happened? He was in there, and somebody walked up to him and was like, "You with the Canarsie guy?" And he was like, They're like, "No. Are you with him?" They're like, "He's like, yeah." They're like, "Okay, you're good." Because they don't like interlopers. Right. And he's from New York. So you could tell people all day you're a lawyer, but he looks like fucking Big Pussy Bompancero, for Christ's sakes.
He does.
I'll never forget the night we were on the way down to South Philly. We were going to go see Sonny and Stevie and some of the guys, and fucking, we stopped at this shithole gas station. Elio's like, "I'm going to buy these goddamn sunglasses." And they're the Angelo Ruggiero sunglasses. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to wear them with my new tracksuit in South Philly tonight." And he walked in and everybody started laughing at him. It was great. It was great. Not as good as the broad falling off the fucking bar stool.
Yeah, she was a fucking piece of work too. He's not your average lawyer, is he? Like, you wouldn't think, but he's...
Nah, listen, that guy. Listen, I there's a lot I could say about him, but the one thing that he's a 24/7 lawyer. He does a lot of shit for people, and I'll never forget when we were down there one night. It was me, Jen Piccolo, Mia, Sonny, I think a couple other people, and Elio disappeared with some broad. And it's 5:00 in the morning. Sonny's ready to go home. I'm ready to go home. And fucking here comes Elio walking in, and fucking the first thing out of Jen's mouth is, "Did you get your dick sucked or not?" He's like, "No." He says, "What the fuck did we wait here for?"
Oh, God. Jesus. That's funny.
God. Yeah, we were there. And you never got to meet Jimmy the Hitman. Oh my God, I wish you could have met him. He looked like Charles Manson.
I mean, Frank the serial killer.
Oh yeah, that's right. Frank the serial killer. I'll never forget that. I don't know if you'll remember. Remember, I was a little hot and pissed off about something. You know what it was about.
Well, yeah.
And I started saying something, and Frank the serial killer reaches over and grabs my arm and says, "Jeff, not here. Just be quiet. I can't protect you here." It's like, all right, Frank. Frank has a twin brother.
Imagine that's scary, man.
Yeah.
Obsessed with directions and shit. So what anything new, unless you don't want to talk about it, with the league, the new Italian league? Did they have their little event or whatever was going on?
Yeah, I didn't go. Go. I was gonna go, but that was May 13th, and I'm just kind of like, you know what? Let me just. That was the week I it disappeared, and everybody freaked out and thought I was in jail or dead.
Yeah.
And I think you were in Costa Rica or just come back from that whatever. Yeah. But no, I don't know how it went. I haven't talked to Gerard. I talked to Elio the other day about some stuff, but no, I didn't go. Listen, that's not the place for me. You know what I mean? Like Roger Stone types, Trump guys. I'm not saying that's not for me. I just think that that's kind of a uppity, beneficial lawyers, doctors, professional people. It's just listen, I'm the Mob Talk Radio guy. I don't need to be, the hypocrisy of me being at a place like that is, even though Gerard was like, "Please come, please." I'm like,
not really, but I don't. You find a way to talk yourself out of everything, man. Like anything good. It's just you could have been like Frank Costello and rubbed elbows with the.
Yeah, I should have walked in and goes, "I pay my tax."
Yeah, that's right. How about watching the fucking movie? I'm sending them clips of the movie. Step by step. It was good movies. I liked it, man.
Yeah, that was funny because who was it? I think my
Big
friend was
John
over.
Ormanto's getting busted with drugs. Then I'm telling you about the case of his wife. It's like, yeah, his wife took him first. She wanted more alimony, and then the very next clip, there it is. Alimony.
So let's address this one. Tom Sizemore, he's dead. He's an actor. Ted Sizemore says, Nadu is super scared of you. Well, Ted, what makes you think that? I'm curious.
I'm just curious. To be rude to you.
Go ahead, say it. You don't think he's scared of me? That's okay. I don't want him to be scared of me.
No, I'm saying I don't think Ted's saying that as like a knock at you or anything.
No. I just meant I just wanted to ask him what makes him think that. Like, is there something I'm unaware of?
Well, you know what I mean? Challenged them a bunch of times and he cowered down. I mean, it's, you know.
Well, that's one thing. I offered to fight him for charity in Philly, and he wouldn't do it. He said I was too old. I was like, I'll beat the brakes off you with one arm. Are you kidding me? But no, he wouldn't do it because the loser had to get off YouTube forever. He's not about to risk that. So I don't blame him from that part of it.
And then he tried to say like it wouldn't work because when he fought the other guy, it was like heavily promoted and money involved and what you.
Yeah, well, he said he made like 6 figures on that, and I know he didn't. So that's, you know, like I said, I mean, it's my issue. My issue with him goes back a long time, and I don't even want to get into it, but a lot of it is he just lies and he does dirty, nasty shit to people behind the scenes. And I don't like that kind of shit. And then I certainly don't like it when he came on and was like, oh, he doesn't know Joey and all that, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look at this broad. You're not Italian. I am. I hate to tell you, but I am. Unfortunately. And even if I wasn't, what the fuck does that have to do with why would I say I'm something I'm not? So I guess my point is, by saying this to you, you dunce, is why would I say I am if I'm not? Because that's not going to change how I do my show. It's not going to bring validity to my show. So why would I do that? Why would I do that? I never said I was 100% of anything. And as a matter of fact, people that say they are full of shit. Nobody's 100% of anything. So my question to you, cunt, is what impact does that have on anything? I'm just curious. It's just so stupid. I know Nadir fears you. He also fears Dom Sakali. Well, if you're going to fear anybody, I would fear Dom Sakali over me. Let's just be honest.
The funny thing is, they say that because you picked to use the name Canarsie as a radio name or whatever, and they think your actual biological name is Loman when it's not. It's an adopted name. You don't realize that his actual biological father is Sicilian Italian. It's a Sicilian name. I'm not going to say it, but it's a Sicilian name. It's
right.
Loman was an adopted name.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice in the matter.
You know,
and I'm not about to produce adoption paperwork either, because there's shit in there that just
fucking retarded. I've been in this.
It's just so stupid. Like when the idiot in Rhode Island goes, he's Jewish. First of all, Loman, Lowman, is not Jewish. Loehmann is. Loman was anglicized from Scottish name Lomond, and it actually comes from Lancashire, England, and Scotland. That's not my last name. My siblings are not my siblings. I have biological siblings, and if I showed you pictures of them, you would be stunned at how dark they are, and then you try to say I was black. That's just the truth.
You want something funny about names? So the way you spelled my last name, Gorki, there's not a lot
Polish.
There it is. But in America, it's like there's not a lot of people that spell it that way. It's
really?
Gorky. And when I was younger, I remember this thing before the internet, like I was in, junior high or whatever, this thing came around and said World Book of Original Last Names. And anybody like in America that had a very original last name where not a lot of families had it could get this book. My uncle got the book, and it said that the name Gorky derived from Germany. Yet I don't have an ounce of German in me that I know of.
Listen, names get anglicized, and like my adopted dad's mother's maiden name was Petri. right? Which is like Irish, fucking English, but that's not me. If you saw a photo of my brothers, I look nothing like them. They're black haired, olive skinned. If you saw pictures of my biological sisters, Sabrina and Angela, oh, how German names those are. Of all the fucking names, Angela and Sabrina, yeah, those are the two names you're going to pick. Okay, Italian names. If you saw them, they look very Italian. So if I showed you pictures of my biological parents, I don't look like either one of them.
This guy's another one, this motherfucker.
You know what I mean?
Here's the thing, line informants. MRE likes to fucking go at people over if a guy sneezes the wrong way, he'll do a whole fucking video making fun of him. All right. The last thing that guy's going to want to do is be called a rat. If MRE could throw it in somebody's face that he's not a rat, don't you think he himself would uncover those 200 fucking pages? Don't you think he would uncover them? He would unseal those documents in a heartbeat just to throw it in people's face. He throws the most petty shit in people's face.
I'll answer this guy's question. I'll answer it. I'll be fair. When are you going to show the paperwork you said I had? Okay, first of all, my cousin cop, Richard Almonte, go look at his arrest records and see if you see a Richard Almonte. He's married to my cousin, my first cousin. Those are fucking facts, okay? 2, I never said I was going to show paperwork. In fact, I was very explicit as to why I wasn't going to do that, because it's not for me to dox someone. I will never do that to anybody, but I know crap nobody knows. So this is not a cousin cop that doesn't exist. Richard Almonte, Almonte, from Rhode Island. He's my first cousin. Don't believe me? Call him on the goddamn phone. Okay? It's as simple as that. The reason why I don't is because I don't do stuff to that. However, the peckerhead that you're defending lies about everyone nonstop. He talks about my dead sister. He talks about me being adopted. You don't hear me talking about his family, do you? I don't do that. I could, because there's shit that I do know that I could say, but I'm not going to. It's not my place. I don't care enough. So I'm not lying about that. Everybody seems first of all, and I'm going to tell you the other trick to that too. I'm going to put paperwork out to get my cousin-in-law in trouble. Nope, not going to do that. I'm going to do that so he can sue me. Do you think I'm stupid? But it's factual. And here's the last fucking thing I'm going to say. I want MRE to fucking sue me for that. You know why? Because I'm going to tell you something that nobody fucking knows. Under a deposition, guess what we can do? We can ask him all about his cases and get all of that paperwork in front of him. He does not want that. So once again, shut the fuck up and call it both ways. This guy says horrible, ugly, repulsive stuff about black people, about Jewish people, and you're going to come in here and try to bust my nuts on paperwork? Really? Maybe you should.
He's on video showing with the Nazi shit and all that. Like, come on, man.
Maybe you should ask yourself why you follow such a creep like that. Maybe that's more of a judgment on you. And if that's who you like, that's who you like. But I don't lie about anything, especially something like that. All right. Anyway. So I hope that answered your question, lying informants and the enablers. Not trying to be a dick. I'm just telling you straight up. My cousin that doesn't exist. He does exist, you dumbass. But I guess I'm making that up too because I'm not from Rhode Island, right? Okay. And a matter of fact, just to show you that I'm not, just because I knew somebody would, Angel has photos of my cousin and her husband and everything else. I showed them to her that were related. So she knows. I sent her photos. I'm not. So what did I do? Research a fucking weird name, an obscure name out of a hat and get photos?
It's just crazy because they think that because you didn't live there you didn't grow up there in your high school years and all that, because you moved
right.
away when you're a young child because your father was in the military. Therefore, it's all fake. Like it's crazy. Listen, I have relatives in California. I think I met or saw just a few times in my life. people, you say my name there, they would know who the fuck I am. You know,
I had Boston Andy on my show. He told stories about my uncles, my relatives from Rhode Island. So what did I do? Call him and tell him this is what you're going to say? Like, that's so ridiculous. Boston Andy ain't gonna lie to nobody. That's just not in him. He knows I could bring on 100 fucking people tomorrow that will all tell you this. I could bring on somebody from Providence tomorrow who lived right next door to my grandfather in Providence that will tell you verbatim everything that I've ever said is true. But I don't do that, and this is the reason why I don't. I don't do that because then they will attack her.
Yeah,
because that's what they do. They don't get what they want, so whatever. Why won't MRE come in here? Here, I'm going to drop the fucking link for MRE since he wants to run his fucking mouth or send his little buddies in to do it. Come on, MRE, come in here like a big man and let's have a conversation. This is going to be your only chance.
That's ought to be good.
He's not coming on here. Oh, Disco Dean. I am a Penguins fan myself. I do not like.
I saw them. I live where the baby Penguins are. I went
to
a few.
Yeah. They were good. They were good this year, man.
I couldn't name one player. Man.
Oh no, they were really, really, really good this year. Like, it's been a couple of years since they've been really this good, but they're gonna be even better next year, I think. But
all I remember was Dennis Bonvie, like when they.
I know him very well.
I
know him very well, yeah, and Billy Tibbetts. But Billy Tibbetts, I don't want to get into Billy Tibbetts because he has a checkered past I don't want to talk about that disgusts me. But he was accused of some not so nice stuff when he played in Canadian juniors. Oh yeah, I knew Dennis Bonvie very well. Very well.
He was like the big name.
Tough fucking guy.
Yeah,
hit like a fucking ton of bricks. That's the other thing. Oh, he never played pro hockey. That's the other thing. Come on. Like, I could bring on 25 people tomorrow. You want me to do that? So stupid.
Well, but see, I could see the reason they say that is because when you say pro hockey, they're thinking at ice hockey. That's what they're thinking, and it's not ice hockey.
Yeah. Anyway, we got a little off track. We're gonna go for like 10 more minutes and call it a night. Just mafia stuff from here on out. And listen, I know people don't like the drama stuff, but I'm not gonna run from somebody in the chat asking me a question. You know what I mean? No, I was not a goalie. My brother was. Believe it or not, my brother was recruited by Lou Lamoriello. Oh, once again, another Providence guy that my mother knew growing up. And Lenny Wilkins or John Thompson. Do I need to keep going on and on? They wanted to get my brother when he was like 15 to go play Canadian juniors. He was very good goalie. Good goalie.
I grew up with a guy. It's actually the uncle of my son. That was a really good hockey player. And they recruit guys young. They recruit. Yep. Yeah,
he was 15 and like he wasn't like a superstar or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but we knew him. And at the time he was in the NHL working. He was a scout and whatever. And my mom didn't want him to go. She's like, no, he's not going to do that. So he never ended up really. Baseball was more his thing anyway. But they scouted him and et cetera. My other brother played college hockey. Hockey is just the sport. My father played semi-pro baseball. So it was baseball and hockey. I sucked at baseball. Let's just be straight. Yeah. I couldn't hit the fucking ball. So hockey was my thing. I was a defenseman. I started off as a center and then I moved to a right wing. And then I realized that when you're a kid, nobody wants to play defense because they think it's like boring. But I said, ooh, I'm going to get more ice time if I do that. So I was a defenseman. Yep. Nasty fucking defenseman. And I tell you what, I'm going to dig through and see if I still have any of my stats from actual games that I played that you people say I didn't. And I'm going to post stuff like that. I still think I have a scouting report from Don Delaney. It goes back to like 96. When I was in a pro ice camp, big one, got throttled nonstop. Yeah. But that's the one thing. Didn't Jared Ham even say that I was one of the best players to come out of that area?
He straight up said you were a good hockey player. Yeah.
Yeah. So
straight up said you're a good hockey player.
I just, it just seems to me, and you know what? Who cares? Let's see. I couldn't skate fast enough to play center or defense, so I got stuck as goalie. Well, here's the thing, right? So when you start, I got put on skates when I was 2, right? I skated better backwards than I did forwards, right? So the coach naturally, and I had a nasty disposition. I fought all the time. I didn't get this pretty being soft, right? I was pretty much a goon for most of my career. And then as I got a little older, as a matter of fact, I played professionally in Hershey, PA for 2 years when I was 36. So I still had it at 30 fucking 6. Granted, my role was a little limited because I was a lot older, but I was the guy that they used to punch people in the fucking face.
There's always a need for those guys.
No, and then I went from that to coaching, and I coached professionally the York Typhoon, even though they were based in Hershey, for Charlie Yoder. CJ and Jamie Yoder played in the ECHL. I knew them well, and Brandon Yoder. And Charlie was the head coach of both the pro team, and then they had what was called Masters, which is pro, but that's like 30 and up. And Charlie had to go to Colorado for something or whatever. And he's like, hey, listen, it's 10 games left in the season. I'm going to let you coach all of them. And I went 10-0 and got them in the playoffs for the first time in like 10 years. And then I got fired because he didn't like the style I employed. And my style was nasty smash mouth hockey, like Philadelphia Flyers 1972.
What do pro hockey players get paid? Like, they probably don't make as much as like NBA, NFL.
So if you're talking about the time period, I think like $1,200 a week for like ECHL, right? Which is like triple. It's like AA pro hockey. Then you get to the American Hockey League, and you're making anywhere from 60 to $1 million a year, 60,000 to $1 million, and a lot of that's because the NHL club is paying half of your contract. So there are guys that played in the AHL, which would be sort of describe AAA baseball, right? Mm-hmm. Those guys can make $100,000 a year. Easy. Bare minimum, I think in the NHL now it's $950,000 is your first contract for like 3 years, and then you can sign for whatever. But at the time that I was playing, I think the guys at the ECHL level were making like $1,200 to $1,400, if that. But see, and that's not a lot of money. But they were also getting paid for like per diem, and their apartments were getting paid for, their insurance and stuff like that. Now, when I played the roller hockey stuff, I wasn't making a lot. Not at all. It's at that point, it's the pro level because not everybody can play at that level, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I played in a league called Major League Roller Hockey International. So you can look all that up if you want. But MLRH was more certain teams. The way that they used to do it was you had like a weekly salary cap of like, let's say $2,000. And you have 15 players in your roster. So some guys on your roster are going to get more than other guys. And then on top of that, you can only have like 2 veterans per team or 3 veterans per team, which means they have more than like 3 or 4 years experience. So they have a tendency of pushing out like some of the older guys. But I did that for over a decade. I didn't make a ton of money. Nobody said I ever did.
Yeah, right.
But I enjoyed every moment of it.
That Lewis Marshall said he played in the WHL for 2 seasons.
Yeah, Western Hockey League, absolutely tough league, very tough league. I knew a lot of guys that played in Tacoma, SaberCats, Russian guy Alex Alexiev who played there, who I knew very well. When you go to my friends list, Chris, because on Facebook, like half the guys on my list are pro hockey guys that I played with, like Elaine Savage and some of these other guys. So. You can't bullshit them. You know what I mean?
Hershey Bears, right?
Yeah, Hershey Bears are in the AHL.
Yeah.
And I'm not explaining anything to you, Michelle, because you're a stupid bitch. Hershey, your mother's twat. That's what they were called. Jerk off.
That's funny.
Uncle Tommy's Pizza had a guy that looked like Hulk Hogan.
I'm talking in the chat about Grace Ferry. Some of these guys are from there.
All right, so we got 5 minutes left. I know that who was it? Lewis up here wanted us to talk about mob shit. WHL was tough. I had an opportunity to play in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, which I did for 2 years. And then it was like OHL, Erie Otters and stuff like that. But no, I was a good player. I just was undersized. My senior year of high school, I was 5'7", 130. I was a wrestler. That's what I did. I wasn't a good one at all. I wasn't a starter or anything like that.
Do you ever hear this where Lewis says a relative of his played pro roller hockey for the Voodoo?
Yeah, Vancouver Voodoo. Of course.
So that's what you played, right?
He's talking about Roller Hockey International, RHI. RHI had a television contract. I played for the Philadelphia Bulldogs for a couple of games. I didn't play in that league full time. And a lot of that was because what they used to do is they had camps, right? You would go to a free agent camp, and then if you get signed, it was like the Washington Power, the fucking Philadelphia Bulldogs. And I knew a lot of different guys, so I would get tryouts and go, and I would always be cut at the last minute. But I played a handful of games here and there in RHI. I wanted to play pro beach hockey, but that didn't work out. So I stayed in Major League Roller Hockey. That was really my thing. And we won, I think it was 2002, we won the World Championship. Also, I played in the 1996 Chicago World Championships, won a gold medal, played for Team USA 17 and under. So tell me somebody else that's done that that's not any good at hockey. And my brother was good too. My brother played. My other brother played. And I played on state teams, state games, and you can't be a chump to play in state games. You've got to be a good player. Travel teams and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it wasn't. I wasn't playing for the Boston Bruins.
I knew of. His name was Chris Geiger. Like I said, I had a kid with his sister. They're both fucking nuts, but he's a tough motherfucker, man, and played younger. And he was recruited by Binghamton, was the Binghamton Bear, whoever Binghamton was, because I think that was like the closest probably like pro or AAA team, because we like back in the day we didn't have the baby Penguins, but I know Binghamton, like I'm saying when I was a kid.
Well, you got the Johnstown Chiefs too. You got the Johnstown Chiefs up there, but yeah, no, my father, believe it or not, didn't want me to play because he thought I was too small. And I'll never forget a guy by the name of Don Shera was like, no, let him play. He's tough. This kid can take it. So my father's like, all right. And I just got better and better and better and better and better and better and better. And then I got this nasty demeanor where I would fight people like an idiot. That was my thing. I think I wish my friend Al was still on fucking social media.
Yeah, you should get some old hockey buddies and have a show. That would be pretty cool. You got a cool chat here though tonight. Like people are talking about hockey, Philly, Wilkes-Barre and shit. You got some good dudes in here.
Yeah, I mean Al and I played Camille's. There we go. Yes, I go to Camille's. I have been to Camille's a million times. Oh my God, Camille's on the Hill. Everybody eats at Camille's. My mother, for Christ's sakes, was like Camille's all the time. All the time. Villa Capri hey Ted, is Villa Capri still open? Camille's. Everybody knows Camille's. Jesus Christ. Oh, and just for the record, how do I know Good Tone and Son Funeral Homes? I'm not from Rhode Island. Good Tone. Creepy as shit. No, my buddy Al, we played in a Navy Super League. And it was basically a pro league, but it was for just Navy guys. But every Navy team was allowed 2 ringers, and I was one. I played for the Eisenhower, the USS Eisenhower.
That's cool.
Cool. And it was like a summer adult. It was a summer pro beer league basically, and the 2 guys that you got for ringers didn't have to pay to like play and all that kind of stuff. They basically paid you out of the kitty every week, and I think it was like 56 games. I had 82 points and 250 penalty minutes. I was no joke. So. Yeah, I played for the Eisenhower. Yep. For a guy named Xander Kane. No, Xander Collins was his name. And then it was like Beth Salva and like a bunch of other people. They had girls in that league too. That was always interesting. Because if anybody hit a girl, I went absolutely fucking berserk. And also, you know how Dickhead Ham knows that? Because he played in the league too, and I ran him over.
He said he said you guys you're a good hockey player.
Let's see. I believe
so. If I ever ate at a place, that Bistro 174 in Kingston. It's funny.
Look at this. You could tell a lot by a man how he holds his cigarette. I try to hold my cigarette like Dean Martin. Dean Martin and my father held it like that. So where it's like I don't know why. It's just whatever. I'm weird. Well, any final thoughts?
No, just hope to get out and have a good time. I have a buddy of mine that said he was going to go with me tomorrow from up here, and half the time he always says he's going to do stuff. He fucking backs out. So I just hope he goes.
You have to let and don't. When I say what I'm about to say, you'll know immediately not to say anything. The thing we talked about the other day on the phone.
Yeah.
You just got to give me a heads up when you want to do that. So like if it's sometime next month, like just give me a 2 weeks heads up and I'll let my friend know who will let the other friend know.
Absolutely.
And I think you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
And if not, then that's not my fault.
Nah, it's all right.
It'll be funny.
Cool.
It'll be funny, but no, you'll definitely have to go to swing out here and we'll do something.
You
anyway.
ever go to any hockey games in New York at all? I know you don't go out much as far as that shit. No desire.
No, it's too expensive for me to go to a Rangers game. It's going to cost me like $250, and I can't justify spending $250 to watch them beat the shit out of the Penguins for an hour. I'm just not going to do it. And I'm not going to go see the Islanders. Fuck that.
So here's final thoughts. You think Edmonton has any shot to beat the Panthers?
Yes, this year, absolutely. I think last year, no. Edmonton choked last year, and I knew they would. This year's they got a different look. They're when they got down in the series and they came sweeping back like they did. Now listen. Florida has been in the Stanley Cup Finals the last 3 years in a row, Chris. They've won last year. Yeah. So last year, Edmonton and Florida played in the finals, and Florida beat them. Listen. The only chance this is what Edmonton's going to have to do. They cannot get lost in the physical side of the game. They just have to Connor McDavid has to score. Draisaitl has to score like crazy, and their goaltending has to be great, and their defense has to be great. If they get into the smash mouth hockey, they're going to lose. So first game is going to be very dependent on whether Edmonton can sustain the physical side of that. If they can't sustain the physical side of the game, then Florida's going to wipe them. They're going to wipe them because Sam Bennett's a fucking maniac, and Kachuk, forget about it. Florida is just very deep. And the way you beat Florida is by letting them take stupid penalties and then killing them on the power play. That's the only way Edmonton's going to win, because I think that if Connor McDavid does not fucking win the Stanley Cup this year, his legacy is just going to be fucked, absolutely fucked. You know what I mean? What do we got?
Whatchamacallit? Wasn't it a few years ago Boston was supposed to be like the best team ever?
And they were horrible.
Yeah.
Well, they have the Boston has the same problem the Penguins have, right? They have a lot of veterans, a lot of old guys. Personally, I love Cam Neely, but they should fire him. Him and Don Sweeney need to be out as management at this point. And the problem is when you have, you lose Patrice Bergeron, you trade Brad Marchand for whatever fucking reason. You're getting rid of guys that are the heart and soul and the grit of the team. And if your minor leagues are not stocked, because their minor league is in Providence, the Providence Bruins, when you don't stock the minor leagues like that, when you have to call up players, you have nothing. And they've drafted very badly. And so they're going through what the Penguins are going through right now, because the Penguins are just god awful.
Any chance for the Flyers to ever be better, good again?
So they just hired Rick Tocchet. Which is an interesting move because he used to play for both the Flyers and the Penguins. The problem they're going to have is Danny Briere is their general manager. The problem that he's going to have is, once again, they have certain players on their team who they've soured on, younger guys, and it's all incumbent on when you're moving guys out, what do you have coming up? It would be like, do you have a redshirt sophomore? You know what I mean? Is he ready to step in and play ball? And if he's not ready, and let's say you have 10 or 12 red shirts, I'm probably getting this wrong because I don't know football all that great. But if your red shirts are not totally ready to play, then what happens when you need somebody? And that's sort of like with hockey. If you take Sidney Crosby out for 2 weeks, you better have somebody that can put the puck in the net at least 30% of the time. Otherwise, you're fucked. And the Penguins are I think Boston and the Penguins were like in the top 5 of oldest teams in the league last year. So I think that's going to be very telling. McDavid doesn't win this year. He only has 1 more year in his contract. He'll skip town if they don't win. I agree. I think he will. A lot of guys don't want to play in Edmonton. Like a lot of guys don't want to play in fucking Calgary either. or Winnipeg. Christ, Winnipeg's disgusting during the summer, or excuse me, during the winter. But, if you were asking me to lay odds on this, I'm going to say it's going to go 7 games. 7 games. I don't think either team has I just think they're both very competitive, very high scoring teams. So it's going to come down to obviously defense and goaltending. It's going to go 7 games, but I'm telling you right now, if Florida and Edmonton play game 1 and Florida wins 6-1, 6-2, and there's a lot of physical shit and there's a lot of fighting after the whistles, I don't think Edmonton has a chance. I really don't. They've got to play an offensive game. They can't get into the physical shit.
So what's your final guess? Florida in 7 or Edmonton in 7?
I'm going to say Edmonton in 7.
All right.
And the reason why I say that is because I think they losing last year the way they did, being up in the series, that's a hard pill to swallow. And I don't think people understand how difficult it is to go back to back. Very few teams, like Florida, has done something no other team has ever done. Penguins have won back to back. Other teams have won back to back Stanley Cups. Florida's been there the last 3 years in a row. That just does not happen. And the fact that they won last year, they can go back to back this year. I don't think Edmonton's very pissed off about what happened last year. They're not going to allow the same shit to happen. But,
Edmonton's the favorite to win.
That doesn't surprise me. What's the
so for Edmonton it's -118. So you have to bet $118 to win 100, and Florida's right at +100. Bet 100, win 100. So it's not a huge difference, but they're the favorites.
No, I think both teams have a shitload of offense, but I think because they have Draisaitl and they have fucking McDavid, that's giving them the edge. That's what's going to give them the edge. Now, if they can shut down Barkov and Tkachuk and Bennett, and even Evan Rodriguez on Florida, forget it. They don't have a chance. You've got to shut those guys down. Let's see. Tocchet was mixed up with Gretzky's wife in that scandal. Yeah, Tocchet got in big trouble for organized crime stuff. He did. Gambling. All right. Well, I think
grab a cheesesteak, Sicilian. Get a cheesesteak before the game somewhere if you can. And go out to eat after the game. I like the saloon. Well, I don't know if they're open on Sundays, but the saloon, Dante and Luigi's, Ralph's, they're all good.
Yeah.
If you want to remember them. Ralph's is the oldest, first ever Italian restaurant in all of North America. If you want to go somewhere for a good dinner, go to either Ralph's or the saloon, I'd say.
Or you go sit in the Oregon Steak in the diner where Nicky Scarfo stabbed the fucking dock worker to death with a butter knife.
Definitely stay in South Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Do not go anywhere near North or West Philadelphia.
No, stay in South Philly.
And you'll know when don't pass William Penn. All the big ass buildings, don't go past there.
Yeah. Worst case, go to Center City and call it a night. All right, I'm gonna get out of here.
All right, he said he's staying at the Circular Hotel at the fucking.
Oh no, the Penrose.
Yeah, I hope you're not staying at the Penrose, man.
Oh my God, do not stay at the Penrose. Holy shit, go. No, go to the casino and stay there. Don't stay. Jesus Christ, don't stay at the Penrose. Oh my God, Elio one night's like, hey, let's just stay in Philly. Let's go to the Penrose. There's crackheads inside the goddamn building, water running all down the walls. No, do not go to the Penrose. Holy shit.
All right, guys, I'll catch you later. It was a good time chatting with you guys, though. Come again.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to make 100 videos, but whatever.
Fuck them.
Yeah. All right, buddy. All right. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining in tonight. I appreciate you all coming in here. Sorry for the little drama stuff, but sometimes you just got to address certain stuff. And keep in mind, no, Philly is fun, Sicilian Syndicate. It is. We will be doing members only lives from here on out. So if you're unsure of how to join a membership, just go to our YouTube page and there should be something about joining a membership. All that being said, we'll see everybody soon.